What is the deal? Cyrus here. I'm going to get into, I'm going to call her Taylor from now on, actually. I was going to say Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm going to call her Taylor just because I want to call her Taylor. GB, friend of the show, says, ooh, this should be good. I'm hoping it is. I don't want to be unnecessarily negative, but I want to be real, though. We will keep it real. That's for sure. And the discussion around Marjorie Taylor Greene is getting heated. I'm going to start right away. So just in case you come back on this live, on a recorded live, we jump right into the headlining topic. We have a lot to cover. Even outside of the headlining topic, I'll cover as much as I can. If you want to know what's happening, the feedback, if you're not aware of the feedback that's happening, let me go ahead and make sure my mic is good. Just do those little kind of as people come in as well. So this shouldn't take too long. I'm actually going to go to YouTube right now and listen to myself. So you're going to hear me again. Yep, there you go. We got the mic check live on there. If you don't know what's going on, let's go over to Gettr. There should be, GB says Taylor is perfect. Because what I want to do is just a little bit of disrespect, not too disrespectful. Casual Goats says more clown world nonsense. Thanks for stopping by, Casual Goats. As always, we're talking about stupid stuff, of course, making too much of this political stuff, but it's what's interesting me right now. So we'll do it. Here I'm going to Gettr. I'm going to my Gettr right now, and we're going to look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. If you're not familiar, Gettr should be the most, other than Truth. And I'm not on Truth that much, so maybe she's doing better on Truth. I don't know. Gettr is like the chat room for War Room with Steve Bannon. Marjorie Taylor Greene has, up until recently, has always gotten, obviously, great feedback. No one's attacking her, anything like that. So she would post stuff, it would go, viral for Gettr, and people would have great discussions in it. I love Getter's really good. Getter's my second favorite after Twitter. There's not any back and forth though. It's a echo chamber, the whole app. At least maybe it's just the people I follow. I am seeing some leftist bots on there more though. So they look like bots. But so she posts something on Gettr. Typically, before all this speaker stuff went down, she would get great feedback. So let's look. She Gettrs. Joe Biden has failed the American people and Border Patrol agents. The border is the most dangerous crisis in America, and fentanyl is killing Americans every day. Impeach Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas. And Google, I'm not going against Joe Biden or anything. I'm reporting what Marjorie Taylor Greene Gettered. I don't even know what that is. That's the verb. So typically you would say, yeah. I mean, the good thing is that MAGA isn't like the left where it is like yes, Queen Seals. It felt that way, but now we know it's not that way. So take a look at the responses. Polycarp says, you lost me. I have unfollowed you and couldn't care less what happens to you now. That's the number one comment on here. Underneath this, MTG, please tell me the clips being out of your interview we're taking. I'm going to play this interview here. I hear you say this stuff. I want to be careful with YouTube, but I am streaming on Rumble as well. Let me make sure I pull that up. So if you chat on Rumble, I'll be able to see it. But it's being portrayed that you said this thing about Joe Biden that doesn't match up with what you used to say. That's the second comment. Amor says, I would love to hear the phone call between you and Trump when you explained to him how Brandon won fair and square and that there was no issues. Another negative. Are you kind of getting the point? Let me skip through that one. She is getting flamed just to oblivion on Gettr. Gettr is the most, there should be no other app that is more Taylor friendly than Gettr. She is getting flambéed. She's getting fricasseed. She's getting barbecued, figuratively. She's getting annihilated. What this means is if Ms. Taylor got up on a stage at a MAGA rally right now, she would be booed off. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe it doesn't translate, but I think the people that go to those rallies, the media tries to portray people that do that. I would go out if I, wasn't married and kids and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to portray them as buffoons, idiots, ignoramuses. No. Remember they booed Trump when he brought down the Johnson family? They're like, nah, we're not doing that today. That's not the mood we're in. Remember when Don Dada wasn't clear enough on his stance on that thing that's got people allegedly dropping like flies suddenly? The crowd said, nah, we're not feeling that right now from you. It's not a cult. And people are asking, you got some explaining to do. Let me go to the video. Oh, let me go to the comments first. All the leftists are bots on Gettr. Okay, I'm just starting to see them more. I never used to see them. Maybe I should call her Lucy. That's going to be the secondary nickname. That'll just be our inside baseball, GB. Thanks for stopping by. Of course, Ryan Mars, thank you for stopping by. Lady Phoenix Gray says she betrayed the entire base. She slowly slid in the direction of the swamp over the last year or so. Man, and I started talking about it, when was it? When she first came out and said she endorsed McCarthy. And it still seems to me, I'm still shocked. I'm like, and then on top of that, I talked about in the channel how I used to be an AOC supporter. Don't forget about the philosophy or why. My point is, I thought AOC was real when she came into the Congress in 2018. And then before that, however, 2020 really exposed it. She portrayed herself as a phony. And if you do, I didn't do enough of it, but I did warn people on the populist right that when the power shifted a little bit, we're going to see some things shifting. Because I thought AOC was for real. And I know that could have been blue-pilled or whatever. But my point is, doesn't Marjorie Taylor Greene remind you of that in some type of way? I mean, I can't believe we're at this point. I'll look at the comments again. I'm going to play the interview. This interview is not that long. I am going to interrupt it. So some people don't like that, but that's just what I want to do with this. Sometimes I'll let them go. Sometimes I'll interrupt it. This is the interview. I posted it on Twitter because I first saw this clip. And then I was like, let me see the full context. I was like, early on in the battle over the next House Speaker, I was like, it looks bad, but let me see the full context. I'm going to play this full video. I'm going to tell you the problems that I have here.
Next House Speaker, Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of Kevin McCarthy's key allies, got really frustrated with the other side's negotiating tactics.
We found out that there were several members, 3 in fact, that went in last night and were demanding positions for themselves.
I mean, I know I just started it and I got to stop it. I didn't pick this up the first time. Did he say the other side? What? Wait. What does he mean by the other side?
Demanding gavel.
No, I got to start this over.
Early on in the battle over the next House Speaker, Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of Kevin McCarthy's key allies, got really frustrated with the other side's negotiating tactics.
He starts the interview. Now, she's not there, so she's not addressing that. But that is a great way to start the interview. The other side? I'm looking like, when did this happen? A2, Brute. Watch your back. When politics goes, watch your 6. Behind you, right in the back. Now all of a sudden it's the other side.
Tactics.
We found out that there were several members, 3 in fact, that went in last night and were demanding positions for themselves, demanding gavel positions, demanding subcommittee.
So what if they were? I know I'm the one. I am fully okay with being vulnerable and admitting when I'm wrong. I thought we were on the same side, just generally speaking. So what if they were? So what?
Committees, demanding for people to be taken off committees
Okay.
and people to be put on committees. I haven't asked for one thing for
I don't give a damn what you asked for or what you didn't ask for.
myself, and I'm the only Republican that has 0 committees.
And joining us now is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
She got all dolled up. It's so perfect. It's so apropos. She looks good. That's probably some of the best makeup hair. The hair's all straight out. What do you all do with any women in the chat? She got that straightening comb out, didn't she? Looks great. She works out. But it's apropos to see her transform into this. This isn't what I ever saw before. So this interview for me was the transformer. Like she fully went over to I don't know what she is anymore, to some entity that to me is in no man's land. It's very appropriate to see her smiling like that, looking goofy, but looking good but she looks different.
The Georgia Republican Congresswoman. So we'll come back to that, but walk us through what happened at the end, because everyone's now seen the pictures. Let's put it up. Were you surprised when Kevin McCarthy fell 1 vote short on the 14th ballot late Friday night when everybody was saying he was going to win? And when you were trying to hand your phone, everyone could see DT on it, to get an opponent, Congressman Matt Rosendale, to talk to the former president, why did he refuse to take the call?
Well, actually, I was surprised that this went on as long as it did. Going into this week, this past.
Okay, this has happened yesterday, Sunday. This is after the speaker vote. So there's no need at this point to talk about how surprising it took so long. There is absolutely no need to even get into that. We're done with it. It took as long as it needed to take. Even if I'm not even going to be in this whole live, I don't think I'm even going to question Kevin McCarthy. That is off the topic. I am not getting off topic. I am not going off topic this live. Forget about, even if you think Kevin McCarthy is the right speaker, so I want to steel man her argument. Assume Kevin McCarthy is the right speaker. You still wouldn't come out like this. Why are you coming out talking about, I'm surprised? That's your first that is your first red flag. The first thing she goes on Fox to talk about is how surprising how long it took. Who does that blame?
Spider sense start tingling.
She ran out right after the speaker vote, ran out there, and I don't know if you saw that picture that was very disturbing. I think it was in Portland or Seattle or somewhere where somebody pushed a kid onto the tracks. That's what she's doing right here. She's running out to the tracks and doing what they've been doing in New York, just pushing Matt Gaetz, pushing Matt Rosendale, pushing Lauren Boebert. She probably would want to do that. She's pushing all that, the rebels, the courageous 20, I think it was about 2021, but I call it the steadfast 5. They were the ones that started it, and then Lauren Boebert joined it. Props to her. Marjorie Taylor Greene's throwing them under the bus. First thing she wants to do in the interview.
Last week, we all knew the negotiations were there. It had been going on for months, and the last final weeks, we thought everyone was in a good place. Then everything started, and we started seeing that there was a solid 20 that just wouldn't back down. But there was also a solid 201.
Right. That got lost in a lot of the coverage.
Exactly.
A solid 201. Oh my gosh. What? What's happening right now? Oh my goodness. If you want to know why, because I've thought you can call me a buffoon. I will not argue with you. I will not argue with you. I thought you were with the 20, even if you thought it wasn't worth it or you already had the deal worked out. Even if you already had the deal worked out with McCarthy, you thought McCarthy was the right one, what I would have done was fade away, and I would have never, I'm going to have to get away from this real quick. I would have never thrown the steadfast 5, even if I had beef with them like she has beef with Lauren Boebert. I would have never thrown them under the bus. Ever. I would have been like, you know what? They are sticking their necks out the line in one of the most courageous acts we've seen in a century. So I think Kevin McCarthy is the right one. I think we've worked out a good deal, but you won't hear me dissing them. That's what I would be saying in the interview. You won't ever hear me diss them. I rock and roll with them. She did the exact opposite. My goodness. This is one of the biggest betrayal. This is the biggest MAGA betrayal we've ever seen. This is worse than Trump. And I'm going to, if I forget, remind me later, I want to talk about, because people were asking me, well, okay, well, would Trump get booed at the MAGA rally? Right now, I don't think he would, because there are some small differences. But this is the biggest betrayal of MAGA. And this is what I was looking at. That's what they did with the populist left. Whether she was fake the whole time or not, I have no idea. But now you've got a fake MAGA in the House. The number one priority as far as voting, got to get her the hell up out of here. She's got to get up out of there. Otherwise, you've got the situation that the left has. They were like, oh, we have the squad. We have Ayanna Pressley, Jamal Bowman, and they're passing legislation like to pass a hip-hop museum in New York and stupid stuff like that. They're voting for the war in the Sunflower Country, and they're supposed to be the left. Cori Bush and all of them, just an embarrassment. But they're in no man's land now. You gotta get. Let me make sure I'm clear though. I can't speak for Georgia 14. That's where Marjorie Taylor Greene represents. I will not speak for you. If you support her, support her. I'm just saying, for me, that would be, if she represented me, she'd be a higher priority than the swamp. There in DC, there is nothing worse than a fake. Now, she's going to say a lot of priorities and legislation that I'll agree with, and I'll agree with them if I'm going to look at that objectively. But her as a representative, you can get the hell up out of here. I'm done with that. There's nothing else I need to see.
And, that was something the media kept spinning around. They were trying to say that Kevin McCarthy would drop out or that the conference was going to pull away. Absolutely not. And President Trump really helped with that. There towards the end, I had been talking with President Trump several times that night.
There's that brown nosing. The politics is the brown nosing invitational. Oh, that whole time I've been talking to Trump, we weren't even talking about Trump. How did Trump get into this? I mean, he didn't even ask a question. Like, I could understand if I don't think he didn't ask a question about Trump at this point. Why are you name dropping Trump? What do you got to do with this?
And I was trying to get Matt Rosendale on the phone with him. President Trump wanted to talk to him, and I was shocked that he refused his phone call. And
he seemed angry about it.
He was angry. He yelled at me on the House floor, telling me, "Don't you ever do this?" I was so surprised I couldn't understand. I was holding out my phone saying, "It's President Trump. He wants to speak with you." President Trump endorsed, I think, all 20 and helped them get across the line.
Oh my God. Did y'all hear what I just heard? She's a rat on top. This is after the speaker vote. There's even before the speaker vote, there's no need to do all this. But you got a little bit more understanding if she's in the Kevin McCarthy camp, just a little bit. This is after the vote has already gone through. She's bringing up one of the biggest winners. Hopefully I don't forget to do this, my top 5 winners and losers after the speaker debacle. Matt Rosendale, somebody I didn't know who the hell he was, had one of the best speeches I've ever heard in the House. He's gotten time on the War Room. His status has risen. And just from the little bit that I'm discovering of him, District 1 in Montana, I believe, I don't know if they have 1 or 2 districts there, not a big population. He's risen in power or in status. And I'm happy about that. And she's on Fox trying to say he got endorsed by Don Dada and didn't take the call. You didn't have to say that. Why is she saying this? She's going straight up after MAGA, America First. Straight up. Steve Bannon, I don't know, I haven't heard him today. Steve Bannon reposted on Twitter somebody had told Marjorie that she's just getting. I've never seen anybody get destroyed like this on Gettr than like her. She's getting destroyed, and somebody re-Gettered and told her 2 words: "Please stop." And Steve Bannon reposted it on Gettr. That was last week. That was before the speaker vote. So I didn't get to listen to his show today, but he's got to cut ties. Like, this is not, she can't be on. Well, you can have her on, but it's going to have to be contentious. Not like she was on with Charlie Kirk today and Charlie Kirk was all soft on her. Nah, we're not going to be doing that. Why are you talking about Matt Rosendale like this? Why did he refused the call? Because he's in the middle of a heated House debate where you're putting your whole neck on the line. Every one of the 20 now have to watch their back for retaliation from McCarthy and those cronies. And now from her too. And she's talking about how he refused the call. The reason why he said don't do that again was because she knew he was on the other side of Trump. I mean, that's like siblings, like, let me call daddy because you're going to do something bad. And then, Corey, here's daddy. You're about to do something bad. Talk to you. What the hell? Now, I don't want to say Trump is like dad. He's like a grandpappy. I'm going to bring this back once. I can't believe she did this.
Telling me, don't you ever do this. The conference was going to pull away.
I think the 5, they will have to go scorched earth on her. Period. You can't let this go. Matt Gaetz, Scott Perry, Paul Gosar. I'm sorry. I know they were chummy and smiling, but this you can't let this fester anymore. You've got to meet this head up and be like, if our legislation intersects, we intersect, but that's not my role. That's not my girl I roll with anymore. Not like that. They have to step up and do that. I don't know why you wouldn't. She's throwing them under the bus on national television.
And, that was something the media kept spinning around. They were trying to say that Kevin McCarthy would drop out or that the conference was going to pull away. Absolutely not. And President Trump really helped with that. There towards the end, I had been talking with President Trump several times that night, and I was trying to get Matt Rosendale on the phone with him. President Trump wanted to talk to him, and I was shocked that he refused his phone call. And
he seemed angry about it.
He was angry. He yelled at me on the House floor, telling me, don't you ever do this. I was so surprised I couldn't understand. I was holding out my phone saying, it's President Trump. He wants to speak with you. President Trump endorsed, I think, all 20 and helped them.
That's a threat. If you didn't know how politics work, if it wasn't obvious enough. She's saying, I'm cool with Don Dada. I got him on speed dial. He endorsed you. I gave you the phone. You didn't take it. He endorsed you. That might not happen again, is the threat.
Anybody else on the floor at that time that you were able to get to take a call from the former president?
Well, these are my Freedom Caucus allies. Usually. And yes, and our voting records are literally the same. Mm-hmm. I have a 100% conservative voting record and will continue to have one. But he had talked to them, multiple of the 20 during the course of the week, urging them to vote for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker because we have a great agenda. And
see, that was a weird way for her to say no. She didn't answer the question of did any of them at that time take the call.
The agenda is easy to support. It's the same type of agenda the base supports. So we were ready to go. But it took a while to get there, but I'm really glad they came around.
Just briefly, were you concerned at all about there being an actual fist fight on the House floor when Mike Rogers was lunging toward Matt Gaetz, who had voted president, but clearly there was some kind of miscommunication or screw-up, and then Congressman Rogers having to be restrained?
Well, there was a lot of frustration and patience. People's patience were worn out. There were some things happening behind the scenes that had caused a lot of people to be upset. For example, there were people that had sick family members at home. Mm-hmm. Kevin Hearn's mother had passed away. There were.
It's bad, yo. It's really, really bad. It doesn't get any worse than this. She's going to the blaming the steadfast five, the rebels. She's blaming them for Congress having to show up to work. That's where we are with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Nobody wants anybody's loved ones to pass away or anything like that. Something could always come up, like you with your job at whatever job we all work. Why is she bringing that up? She's clearly blaming them for it.
Sick family members at home.
She's saying that the courageous, the rebels, the ones who were this probably the most courage I've ever seen out of a politician in my lifetime. This group of politicians that did this, you could see it on their faces, all the pressure that was coming on them. And now she's talking about the family members of people who were sick and nothing terrible really happened.
Sick family members at home.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Hearn's mother had passed away.
She's blaming them for what? To do with Kevin Hearn? Whoa. You can't turn back from this. There's no turning back.
There were babies had been born.
Right.
You know,
One
Wesley
prematurely.
Hunt, one was premature. And
She's still going on. Man, this politics is dirty, isn't it? Man, this is a dirty game, you know. This is dark. I don't know what. Man, I didn't know she had that in her, man. She might want to be like the next Hillary. This is Hillary C level of darkness right here. Can you imagine like colleagues that you used to portray yourself rocking with and rolling with? They stand up to kind of challenge authority and maybe you don't agree with them. And after it's all done, you talk about the family members of other people like it was their fault. Yeah, hands. I could see how hands could go. It doesn't get any darker than this. You talked about somebody's mother passed away, a premature baby, in the context of blaming them for it, when what they did had nothing to do with that, obviously. It's a dirty world. It's a dirty game.
Yeah.
his wife was in the hospital.
Right.
So there were serious things going on, and there were members in the conference that were saying enough of this.
How is she going unchecked? She was just on Charlie Kirk's show. I caught most of it. Maybe I missed the last few minutes. He was taking questions from the email, but he was being very soft. And she brought this up again with Charlie Kirk. He didn't challenge her at all. My question would be, what does that have to do with anything? That would be my question. What does that have to do with anything? Are you blaming them for family issues with your colleagues? What's happening here?
There is nothing more to discuss. There's no reason to.
If I think there's something more to discuss, then there's something more to discuss. Now, you can put pressure on them. You can tell them all that. But to blame the family member stuff is.
Prolong this. Let's get on with it.
Okay. Now, a few months ago, you told New York Times Magazine writer Robert Draper for his book about McCarthy, you said, I think that to be the best speaker, we can put this up here, of the House and please the base, he's going to give me a lot of power and a lot of leeway. And if he doesn't, they're going to be very unhappy about it. That's not in any way a threat. That's reality. So could it be said, and this has gone on in the history of our republic, that you'd already cut your deal, that if McCarthy became speaker, you wouldn't be treated as some fringe character, but
I have no problem with her cutting the deal. I still wouldn't throw them under the bus, though.
you would have influence.
That's not at all true. As a matter of fact, I don't have any committee assignments yet.
And do you believe her now? Maybe you never trust her, never believe her, but if you did believe her or trust her to some extent, do you believe her now? Of course not. Hell no. Now, after the darkness we just saw, I mean, this Billy G level, when you start talking about somebody's mom sick, and a premature baby? There's no lower level.
I've only submitted the same form that every other member gets to submit, asking for committees. And I don't have a promise. I've already heard some people saying that what they're getting, because that was honestly what a lot of the negotiations in the end were all about. I have no promise. I have no deal. I only fully supported, I've said this all along, the agenda that's laid out there. It's even on Kevin McCarthy's website, what we can accomplish in the Republican conference. And the reason why I told that to Robert Draper is because I have the support of the base, and I keep...
Wait, what did you say? What did you say, my nickel?
Because I have the support of the base, and I keep telling...
I don't speak for the base, but I wouldn't make any assumptions at this point.
Everyone here in Washington, this is what the American people want. And it was easy for me to get on board with this agenda because I'd see the conference come around the same things.
Yeah.
And
well, just to deal with one bit of history, the Democrats stripped you of your committee assignments after you were elected. That was raw politics. But in fairness, didn't you also say around that period that you had been a follower of QAnon conspiracy theories and you had rethought this and you were no longer influenced by the group?
Well, like a lot of people today, I had easily gotten sucked into some things I'd seen on the...
I have no problem with this. I've played her speech where when she first just got sworn, it was very early in her career that she talked about it. It was one of the best speeches I heard on the House. It was very heartfelt. She's in a different place, obviously, now, but I have no problem with this part.
Internet, but that was dealt with quickly early on. I never campaigned on those things. That was not something...
That is true.
I believed in. That's not what I ran for Congress on. So those are so far in the past.
All right. You tweeted, I guess in late December, being conservative and anti-establishment, I used to criticize Kevin McCarthy a lot. So if that's true, why did you end up on his side when some of your fellow conservatives in the Freedom Caucus, obviously, you know, Gaetz was saying he will not win next week, next month, next year?
Thank you. That's a great question. Yeah, they did. He did say that, and sure enough, Kevin McCarthy is our speaker. Well, here's what happened.
Man, she's out here just throwing elbows.
Yeah, they did. He did say that, and
next month, next year.
So he's talking about Matt Gaetz.
So if that's true, why did you end up on his side?
You see what I feel here is I've worked with a lot of corporate people before, and most people, great people. But there are some people in a corporate environment, that's all this is that they will try to climb the ladder. And it doesn't matter, just like George Costanza, when during that episode, when they thought there was a fire, there was kids in the apartment, he threw them out of the way to get out the apartment first. They will take you, throw you off the ladder, they'll trip the ladder, they'll burn the ladder, they'll do whatever they can to get above you. So to me, it comes across as Matt Gaetz, and I do have a new top 10 for my picks for president, just not viability or electability or realistically just who I would like. I have Matt Gaetz number 3 now. Number 1, Comic Dave Smith. Number 2, Carrie Lake. Number 3, Matt Gaetz. I think she's worried about Matt Gaetz getting too much credit and he would be a VP pick over her. That's what it comes across to me. Why would she diss Matt like this?
December. Being conservative and anti-establishment, I used to criticize Kevin McCarthy a lot. So if that's true, why did you end up on his side when some of your fellow conservatives in the Freedom Caucus, obviously, you know, Gaetz was saying he will not win next week, next month, next year?
Thank you. That's a great question. Yeah, they did. He did say that, and sure enough, Kevin McCarthy is our speaker.
Wow. Okay. We know where you stand now. That's crystal clear. So let me ask you this question before I continue. This is not going to be too long. Then I have another video of how she was so much different about a little bit more than a year ago. But let me ask this question here for a second. Do you think let's assume she votes the right way the whole time. Because AOC is not voting the right way. Let's just the easiest mark is the sunflower country and the proxy war. She's voting for funding that. Iron Dome stuff as well. But so AOC is not voting the right way. Marjorie Taylor Greene could be different. What if she is voting the way you would like? Am I making a big deal out of nothing if that's the case? I'm gonna throw that out to all y'all, and I'll try to come back in the comments in a second. In my opinion, it does matter because she's not the only person that will vote in a majority of the way that I would support. So it's not like she's not irreplaceable. With her throwing them under the bus at this moment, which is one of the most crucial moments in the history of MAGA, because MAGA came in the building, but MAGA's never had power. That's why this took so long. That's why they passed the omnibus last year, putting the budget all the way till September to make sure that they neutered at least almost the first half of MAGA's term. That, you know, any MAGA members that came in the House, they did that on purpose, Republicans and Democrats. I can't trust her. I don't care how she votes, right? I don't care how she votes. She's got to go. You can't be attacking the people if she's putting herself above the movement, and that just can't happen. Not for Trump, not for anybody else. And I think it's got to be, the movement's got to be able to say, this isn't a cult. Even though you're voting the right way, you are replaceable by Felicia. That's what I would like to see happen. But let's go back.
Well, here's what happened. I came into Congress and, you know, Kevin and I, we had some public confrontations, or not necessarily confrontations, but said things about one another. But I did something that I wish more members of Congress would.
Man, it's not even just the way, it's not even just what she's saying. It's the way she's saying it. Like, I can't get this out of my head. I almost wonder if she's wearing knee pads with Kevin McCarthy's name on it. That's what it feels like. Like, it doesn't feel right. Even if she's trying to sell McCarthy to me, it's just, look at her. It's like, it just doesn't even look right.
Here's what happened. I came into Congress and, you know, Kevin and I, we had some public confrontations, or not necessarily confrontations, but said things about one another. But I did something that I wish more members of Congress would do. I started talking to Kevin McCarthy.
I fully support that. And again, my argument for this live, I'm not even questioning Kevin McCarthy. I don't need to even bring him up as a, do you support him or not, to show how crazy this is.
And I went and met with him and got to know him better and got to understand where he sees the conference going, what he sees our agenda and what we should do. And that's why I came around a lot sooner than 20 of my Freedom Caucus colleagues. But listen, here's the great news. I'm glad they came around this past week. So what you saw them do, learn to trust them and have faith in the
They didn't come around, Marjorie. What are you doing? I don't know what she's doing right now.
Past week. So what you saw them do, learn to trust them and have faith in the plan going forward. I was able to do that over the past year, but I hope more of my colleagues do that.
That's the brown note. I'm telling you, man, it's the worst ass kissers in the world, man. She's ass kissing Trump. She's ass kissing McCarthy. She will kiss whatever ass, figuratively, and maybe literally, that she needs to get where she needs to get to.
Things got heated. You said this about Congressman Chip Roy of Texas. He refused to object on January 6th. That's not what our base wanted. So a lot of the people who were backing Kevin McCarthy also didn't vote.
You see what I mean? Like, she can be for Kevin McCarthy without going after Chip Roy. Why does she have to go after Chip Roy?
The Electoral College results for Joe Biden. Do you think that's an important thing to the base even today?
Oh, it's very important. Well, what I was pointing out is the same people that conservatives were holding up in high esteem don't necessarily have those voting records while they're at the same time criticizing Kevin McCarthy, who does. Right. Kevin McCarthy did object on January 6th, and he's been a top target of the Democrats and the January 6th committee.
Do you believe that Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president?
Of course Joe Biden's the president. That's always a silly question.
Okay.
She's goofy as all hell right now. She is goofy.
Do you believe that Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president?
Of course Joe Biden's the president. That's always a silly question.
Okay. I wasn't trying to be silly. Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president?
Of course Joe Biden's the president. That's always a silly question.
Okay. I wasn't trying to be silly. I was trying to just clarify. We have about half a minute left. As you know, what a lot of media say,
course Joe Biden's the president. That's always a silly question.
Okay, I wasn't trying to be silly. I was.
January 6th, and he's been a top target of the Democrats and the January 6th
So do you
committee.
believe that Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president?
Of course Joe Biden's the president. That's always a silly question.
Okay, I wasn't trying to be silly. I was trying to just clarify.
He did object on January 6th, and he's been a top target of the Democrats and the January 6th
So do you
committee.
believe that Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president?
Of course Joe Biden's the president. That's always a silly question.
Okay, I wasn't trying to be silly. I was trying to just.
I can't tell the difference between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Pelosi right now. And YouTube, I'm not going into that topic other than to say I've said Brandon is the president. That's a lot different than putting the L word with it, though. Like the TV show. Like he didn't say Brandon, is Brandon the president? He said, is Brandon the L word president? I can't answer that on YouTube. Not truthfully, not with a lie detector. She did it with a smile.
And the January 6th
So do you
committee.
believe that Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president?
Of course Joe Biden's the president. That's always a silly question.
Okay, I wasn't trying to be silly. I was trying to just clarify. We have about half a minute left. As you know, what a lot of media are saying now is, oh, you know, McCarthy gave away too much. He's weakened his speakership, especially when the number of members required to do a snap vote of whether he should stay in that chair went down from 5 to 1. Was that a big deal in the machinations here?
Well, no, I'll go with this, and this is what I've said from the beginning before we ever got into this week. The most important thing that every single member has is their voting card. There's only 222 Republicans, and we need 218 to pass anything. That's where the magic happens. And so the big fight that happened this week, I think that a lot of it was really unnecessary and just a bunch of fanfare that helps popularity on the internet but doesn't produce results. Now we have a speaker.
Tell me the difference between Nancy Pelosi. Other than the bazungas, what's the difference? And a little bit of surgery. Yo, give her 30 years. That difference is the same. She's not going to probably do anything down there. But there's not much different. I wouldn't even know the difference at this point with that specific comment on, oh, it helps with internet fanfare. You could pick Hakeem Jeffries, any one of them. They would have said the exact same thing.
That we can produce results with, and we have to do that by coming together to get 218.
Yeah.
That's where our power lies. And so with this rules package, let's be very real. We've got a Biden White House, we have a Democrat-controlled Senate, and we got to get to 218 to accomplish anything.
Right. Ultimately, in Washington, it's about the math.
That's right.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Okay, so that was when my eyes were just crazy when I saw that yesterday. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I will not interrupt. This is just a minute. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene with Matt Gaetz, and you'll hear her say this is November 25th, 2021. This is that's the date that Matt Gaetz uploaded this to you, Rumble. Marjorie Taylor Greene says, we know Kevin McCarthy has a problem in our conference. He doesn't have the full support to be speaker. He doesn't have the votes. There are many of us that are unhappy. And take with it what you want to do with this, but I think it's context to show where she came from.
Here's what leadership is going to have to do. Right now, we know that Kevin McCarthy has a problem in our conference. He doesn't have the full support to be speaker. He doesn't have the votes that are there because there's many of us that are very unhappy about the failure to hold Republicans accountable while conservatives like me, Paul Gosar, and many others just constantly take the abuse by the Democrats. Republicans can fix this, and it happens with leadership. And here's what I have to say about it. Respect is earned. It's earned. It's not given.
Do you respect the Republican leadership right now?
No, I don't respect them at all. I can't respect leadership that doesn't hold people accountable, but yet allows people like me and Paul Gosar to be constantly trampled and abused, and then will throw us under the bus at the first given chance. I'm really sick of it.
If you had to guess right now, is Kevin McCarthy ever going to be Speaker of the House?
Right now, from the people I've talked to, he doesn't have the votes right now. I think that there's a door open for a challenger. So we'll see what happens.
So at that point, she was with Paul Gosar and them. This was the agony that Paul Gosar went with, and she threw him under the bus, as you just heard in that interview. It's Paul Gosar, if you're just listening.
Gosar.
His name's called for the vote. Look at his face.
McCarthy.
He votes for McCarthy, and he looks like his dog just passed away. Dude gives him a hug. He has his head down. It looks like the weight of the world is on his shoulders. Who knows what they did or got to him with. That's what we're seeing. So that's how far away she is now. Matt Gaetz was on with Fox. And if you want to hear, well, what did you want MTG to say? Well, she can say whatever she wants to say, but I'm going to flame her for it. Matt Gaetz was on Fox as well. And here's what he had to say.
I am joined here in studio by Florida Republican Congressman and member of the House Armed Services and Judiciary Committees, Matt Gaetz. Welcome, Congressman. Great to have you.
Good to be with you.
So is it worth it all going 15 rounds to elect a speaker?
Absolutely. We got concessions that really were being rejected as early as Monday when it comes to being able to read legislation 72 hours before its adoption, individual appropriations bills. And
these are all things Marjorie Taylor Greene could have brought up. She didn't bring it up. And in fact, she said it was a waste of time. In fact, she said that you put their lives through stress with their family members.
ultimately, what we negotiated ensures that we will never again have a circumstance like this omnibus spending legislation, because bills will have to comport to a single subject.
We've been talking about that. Man, this is a dream scenario. Now, I don't know how it's going to look like in practice, but to break the bill down to a single topic is just huge. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't bring that up.
Be germanity requirements on amendments. And so it's going to be an open process, a transparent process. I'm thrilled at where the House of Representatives is today.
You were quoted as saying the construct of these rules concessions functionally turn the speakership into a ceremonial position. Do you mean that?
Well, Speaker McCarthy is our speaker, and long live the speaker. I look forward to working closely with him. But
you see that? There's no need at this point to go beef to beef, even if you really have beef. They're professional politicians. There's no reason to attack Kevin McCarthy or go at him at this point. We're already past the speaker. Now you're going to have to battle over other things, but at this moment, there's no need. He's the speaker. So he says, yeah, he's the speaker.
Do you mean that?
Well, Speaker McCarthy is our speaker, and long live the speaker. I look forward to working closely with him, but he did agree, to his great credit, to democratize power to the...
And then he gave him credit to democratize power. This is the power that the populist left gave Nancy Pelosi. They let her play politics on God mode, and she was already a beast. So they had to hold out to nerf the powers of the speaker. I'm for decentralization from any walk of power. And that was decentralization, is all that battle was for.
The membership. Oftentimes, these committees that decide what bills come to the floor, what the spending paradigm is, they're controlled just by people loyal to the speaker. Now what we have is a real representation of all of the different viewpoints within our conference. On the Rules Committee, on the Appropriations Committee, we fought hard to get agreements to have conservatives on those committees, to have our budget hawks on appropriations, and I can't wait to see what we're able to do when we unlock the potential of all of our members going forward.
What about the concern that this delayed process weakened him? And to recap, we've got a Democrat in the White House. We've got Democrats running the United States Senate. Don't you need him to be as strong as possible?
Well, I think the way to have a strong Republican position on a lot of these issues is to have strong Republicans on the most relevant committees. And I don't really get the critique that taking from Tuesday to Friday to work this out puts the Republican majority in peril. I mean, you know, Mike, that in the summer, the entire Congress takes like 6 weeks.
So let me look at this. I just caught this comment, looking back at the comments real here quick. Thank you. Veronica Wallen says, MTG said on Charlie Kirk that the concessions were there before the 15-round vote. Yes, and she basically said that in this other interview as well. That's fine. So, but why? But if let's say the concessions were there and all of that holding out for the vote was a waste. I mean, not a waste, but didn't get any new concessions. Why would Marjorie Taylor Greene call that out to throw them under the bus? Veronica, if you're still in the chat, and I mean this respectfully, there's no beef or anything like that. What's the point of bringing that up? What's the point of bringing that up? And then also the mother's sick and the premature baby. That's like the ABC coverage I was looking at. Maybe I'm missing. What's the point of bringing it up other than to throw Matt Gaetz under the bus? Is it really that petty that Donald Trump probably called her and said, hey, you're a candidate for VP. I need you to do this type of stuff. That's fine, but you can see why I'm out on Trump for president. He's not in my top 10 at all. DeSantis is, though. So after all that fanfare about me dissing DeSantis, I have him at number 8 or something like that. But after all that, Trump's out and DeSantis is there. So we'll see if he announces. I might have Crow on that. We'll see. But so Trump calls her potentially and says, you're a VP candidate. I need you to clean up, basically. Is basically what could have happened. Donors the donors maybe, or the people behind Trump could have been like, we're looking at you at VP that we need to clean that up. Like if they say, is Biden the L word president? We're going to need you to clean that up. Because I don't know, that looks like Don Dada's going to flip on that too. And I actually don't have a problem with her saying that Biden is the L word president. I do have a problem with her not taking that opportunity to highlight the problems, though. You can have both positions and say, I'm not even going there anymore as far as Brandon. He is what he is, man. We're almost in 2024. But here's the concern. Big tech teams up with the FBI. We held out to get more power for hearings, to look into that. We don't want that type of stuff to happen, to suppress stories. Even if they're not true, you can't suppress stories when you should have free speech. That could be considered interfering with the process. When I say L word, I mean that. I just don't want I don't want those problems with YouTube.
Weeks off where we're not even around at all. So to take 4 days to figure out who's going to be second in line to the presidency and to ensure that we have a House of Representatives that is a fighting force going to check the Biden administration, absolutely worth it.
Up next is the rules package, the governing rules for the next 2 years in the House of Representatives. Any drama there?
I don't expect it. I think this is an exquisite rules package. And, you know, members of Congress, even speakers, we pass through these positions and move on to other things. But oftentimes, when you make the rules better, you can actually improve the health of the institution long term. Some of these rules will allow us to zero in on specific elements of federal spending and force votes on whether or not that is an appropriate use of tax dollars. Also baked into these rules we're going to vote on a church-style commission to evaluate the weaponization of this government against our people. That's the FBI, the DOJ.
Which, to my knowledge, Thomas Massie is going to be heading. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that these are not long-term concessions. Well, number one, let's just worry about what's happening now. Why do you need to go against Matt on that debate, whether they're long-term or not? Number two, they could be long-term because members of the House might not want to give a speaker power like Nancy P. had. Maybe the squad does try to hold out if they, God forbid, take the House. Please, God forbid that happen.
But even other entities that we see abusing their power to the detriment of the liberty of our citizens. This is going to give us more staff, more resources, and we're going to get government back on the side of the American people.
There was a tense moment late night Friday night when Congressman Mike Rogers, expected to be the next chairman of House Armed Services, confronted you. You guys both serve on the Armed Services Committee. What was that all about? And are you guys going to be able to work together on armed services?
Well, Mike Rogers is going to be a terrific chairman of the Armed Services Committee, and we share a deep commitment to our national defense, to our men and women in uniform. And of course, in a late night moment of high drama, people can have moments of frustration. But Mike Rogers and I have a 6-year productive working relationship. We're going to work together wonderfully going forward. And I don't think there should be any punishment or reprisal just because he had an animated moment. He has my forgiveness and certainly is someone who's done great things for our national defense and will continue to do those great things.
What a great answer there. So Marjorie Taylor Greene attempting to smear the Steadfast 5 or the 20 as like not willing to work with other people is just a complete lie. I mean, it was never true. I played even before the speaker thing got heated. 2 months ago, Gaetz saying, I want to work with everybody. Even the moderates could block. All they need is 5 moderates to block something. He was like, anybody could block something now. You just need a group of 5 anybodies. 5 anybody in Congress could say, we're the bipartisan 5. We're the fantastic 5. We're the 5 that give a damn. We're the 5 that want to get real, whatever. And they could block anything. So Matt Gaetz was like, I'm not trying to be biased here. He said that before. That was never the position. The position was never MAGA only. They don't have enough power to do that. So he's saying, Mike Rogers, man, it got heated. I respect that, like locker room stuff. That's what it was. It got heated, whatever. He got held back. It's over, man. We grown-ass men. That's the right answer. And it just hurts me to see Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's lying about them. I mean, she's just flat out lying about them. Has Matt Gaetz talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene recently? Anybody know about that? Let me know. I haven't seen anything. They used to roll together, be on each other's podcasts. I mean, that stuff can't keep going. I saw them sitting together talking. I don't know about that.
You've taken some praise from people who liked the fight that you led this week. You've also taken some criticism. Some people saying this is about fundraising. This is about more media appearances. Do you consider yourself a serious legislator?
Well, absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons we fought for these rules was to ensure that all members of Congress can get involved in the legislative process at a more granular level. For far too many years under both Republican and Democrat control, power has been centralized in a select few, and that's not good for the Republic. I am not one that's really dearth for a lot of media appearances. I think I'm someone who appears on your network and others more than any other member of Congress. So it's an odd criticism to say that I'm doing this for media hits when I do a lot of those anyway. And even before this episode, I was one of the top fundraisers in Congress, despite the fact that I'm one of the only Republicans in Congress who doesn't accept any lobbyist money or any political action committee donations, because I believe our politics is most pure when it is funded by the people of our country, not those who are paid to try to influence outcomes.
Congressman Matt Gaetz of the great state of Florida. Great to have you, and we'll.
Excellent hit, and you can compare MTG to his, and let me know what you think. They broke up. Ryan Smarts, do you know something? Because Matt Gaetz has been very vague. I know her and Lauren Boebert, they really don't mess with each other. There was a story that they were swearing at each other on the House floor, allegedly. Let me know about. I haven't heard where they're at. I just haven't had a chance to see it. But if you missed it, here's the story, just in case anybody didn't hear it. I didn't hear it until yesterday, I think. Lauren Boebert accused of swearing at Marjorie Taylor Greene during House Speaker vote. Tempers flared among the House Republicans during the whole Speaker stuff. Had the 14th round of votes. As we talked about, MTG, of course, supported McCarthy. There was a video of an exchange between Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, which appeared to show Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I should be referring to as Taylor from now on, tell Boebert with an eye roll, you need to stop. Colorado's representative gave a forceful, brief response to her Georgia colleague, which ended with Boebert turning away from Greene to stare straight ahead. Many social media users have posted clips of the exchange with their interpretation of the verbal exchange. I'm not a lip reader, but I think Boebert told MTG to the F out of my face, one user opined. And is the link, I thought the link was in here. I don't think I even seen the video, or maybe I've seen it once. Let me see if I got it here. Yeah, it's right here. So this is where the lip syncing, you might have seen all the funny lip syncing stuff going around. But here you go here. So here's what I'm showing, if you're just listening, a tweet that says that someone thinks that Boebert said, get the F out of my face. So let's listen or look. So you've got the two contentious ones close. Matt Gaetz is close. I mean, they've been inseparable pretty much. Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert. So now you see Boebert's. I actually have not seen this. Boebert's looking back at MTG. I don't know if that's the correct lip reading, but man, I'll get off of that drama. But it's pertinent. That's maybe how this whole thing spread, was between them two. That's probably how it got worse. No, I mean, I don't care that she said a bad word. If Ryan Smart says she said a bad word, I don't care about that. It's just to show the contentious, it's beef. Yeah, I wish I had better news on that regard, but this is good news, though. Wouldn't you rather know where you stand with people? I love this, man. You know where you stand with people in these type of, and I have, because before this whole thing, if you had to say, hey, pick one, Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, I would have picked Marjorie Taylor Greene 10 times out of 10. And now it's 0 out of 0. I would pick Lauren Boebert if I have to compare those two. Not that I'm the hugest Lauren Boebert fan, but another good thing is Lauren Boebert got some practice in the media. I think she does need a little bit more practice to convey her message. Marjorie Taylor Greene is way better at conveying her message than Lauren Boebert. Let me go with the top 5 losers after the speaker debate, just to share, and I'll see if I can articulate my reasoning here. But the top 5 losers after tonight's debate. Number 5, I have the Department of Defense. Why would I say the Department of Defense? They're worried about the spending. With the new rules, it's possible that the minority MAGA in the House could decrease military spending, which I think the populist left should be excited about. But of course, where are they to be found? Other than Jessica Mai, if she comes through the chat, where are they to be found? That's a great thing. In the Department of Defense, the populist right is starting to realize that the Department of Defense is not your friend. They're woke. Woke is anti-you. Speaker McCarthy's number 4, the number 4 loser. Because as you heard in that interview, they just nerfed the powers of Speaker. Kevin McCarthy probably thought he was going to get at least close to Nancy P level of power. Still has power, but he does not have as much nearly as her. Number 3 loser, this might just be me personally, but Charlie Kirk, the shine wore off of Charlie Kirk a little bit. Highly intelligent, important organization, but he was not a leader. He was not on the right side when the people going up against authority needed support. And that's something that I will not forget. Number 2 loser for me was Pappy Don. He backed McCarthy, which, I mean, that's fine, but I didn't hear it. Maybe somebody tell me. I didn't see him backing the rebels, for a lack of a better term. I think CNN's the one that coined that, which I'm like, great. Do you think they're rebels? I agree. Our country was founded by rebels, just so you know. And obviously the number one loser was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's look at the winners. I wanted to do the losers first so we could get the negativity out the way. Let's see if I can do a quick search here in Twitter and find my top 5 winners after the speaker debacle. You might see some surprises here. This might surprise you. If you're just listening, the number 2 one might surprise you. And I'm going to focus on the number 2 one because I've talked about most of the other ones. Number 5 winner after this debacle, Matt Rosendale. Boy, was his speech was heartfelt, authentic, believable. He was nominating Byron Donalds, but it wasn't really about Byron Donalds. I'm wondering if I should play a clip at least of that speech. Let me go get it real quick. It's worth getting. I wouldn't take the time to go get it if it wasn't worth getting. What a speech. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I know that for sure. Audio doesn't sound good on this one, but let's see if it's too bad, I'll get a different one. This is Matt Rosendale. I didn't know who he was. I did this live, and I'm like, I wish they would put the names. Why aren't they putting the names on the TV? I'm like, I never heard of this dude in my life. And His speech was disjointed, but if you were in that live, you might have remembered me saying like, whoa, that might be an underrated speech. That was an amazing speech. Let me bring it back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Montana rise?
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I would like to nominate the name of Byron Donalds to Speaker of the House of Representatives.
The gentleman is recognized.
Let me begin by stating that it is an absolute privilege to be here standing and serving with each and every one of you. I know we have differences of opinions, and I know we have differences of agendas that we would like to pursue, but I will tell you that we all are representing the United States of America in the best fashion that I know that we truly believe in. So thank you, and it is a privilege.
I can't believe no one clapped after that.
When I walk out every evening from the Longworth office building, I will tell you that as I look back on the Capitol with the lights gleaming upon it, that I recognize the honor, the privilege, and the responsibility that each one of us has taken on to be in this place that we are right now, and the obligations that we have to the districts that we represent back home. It is an incredible privilege, but it is also an incredible responsibility, and I do not take it lightly, and I know that no one in this room does. We are participating in a system that has endured 247 years, through drought and through flood, through world wars and through a civil war. In some way, we return to this place year after year to serve the people of the United States of America. But unfortunately, over the past 15 years, the process that we use has been dramatically broken. The voices that were sent here to equally represent each of the 435 districts across this nation have become diminished. This through the consolidation of power into the hands of the Speaker and a fortunate few who happen to serve on the Rules Committee, which control every aspect of legislation that travels through this body. The debate and the discussion has been all but eliminated, and the balance of us are left to vote yes or no. Those are our options, and that is what has led to the disintegration of the relationships that we see across this floor. That is not equal representation, which is guaranteed by our Constitution and expected by our constituents. We have had more discussion and debate over the last 3 days than I have participated in on this floor for the last 2 years. And it's healthy. It absolutely promotes the collegiality that everyone is striving to obtain. We're having discussions not just within our own party, but amongst each other as we walk around and start planning for the legislation that we will need to address over the next 2 years in the 118th Congress, that sooner or later, yes, sooner or later, we will begin to function as.
I'll stop it there. He went on to talk about how they voted via proxy. Something that Marjorie Taylor Greene, if you any Timcast fans out there, she talked about the exact same thing. I think she was on Timcast 3 times. I think I forget it was the first or second time. She went on there and she talked about how they bring to the floor. Let me see if I can find that so he can explain it. It might be coming up.
Are the good days. And guess what? Our constituents think, as they watch us on C-SPAN today, that this is how every day functions. They think that this is how every bill gets addressed in this body.
This is it.
And they will be shocked to learn, the ones that you have not disclosed the little nasty secret to, that unfortunately, that's not how it works around this place. That under the current rules and under the current leadership construction, that on fly-in days, typically Monday at the beginning of the week, the leadership on both sides of the aisle negotiate a number of bills, 15 to 20 pieces of legislation that one Democrat and one Republican stand on this floor. They discuss momentarily, and then they say the magic words, without objection, we will pass this by unanimous consent.
Millions, billions, trillions and your representatives not even in the room, haven't read the bill, don't even know what the hell is going on. And he exposed it on the floor. What a speech. Matt Rosendale is my number 5 winner from this debacle. Number 4, Lauren Boebert, rose up, showed a lot of courage. You could see in her face that it was a difficult time. And that had nothing to do with MTG. It was just in general. She had to make a choice. And she chose to go with the courageous side to challenge McCarthy and everybody who supports McCarthy, money, big money, all that behind him, and Grandpappy Don. Byron Donalds, I talked about him in previous lives. He showed up really well. Not as MAGA, who cares? He doesn't throw MAGA under the bus. He doesn't throw anybody under the bus. He's very practical and handles the media extremely well. Byron Donalds came up. I'm gonna do number 2 last. Number 1 is clearly Matt Gaetz. He is the leader of the MAGA movement, period, to me. For me personally, as far as people in D.C. I look at people in D.C. and then Trump, because he used to be there and he's running to get back there. So out of all the people in D.C. and then including Trump, Matt Gaetz is the person. If I want to know, like, what's the MAGA position, I used to think MTG, to be honest. I don't even think Carrie Lake as much because she's, doing her thing right now, trying to fight for Arizona. But Matt Gaetz is the leader right now. Number 2, you might be wondering, who is that at number 2? Number 2 is Hakeem Jeffries. I know that some people were surprised. Maybe you might not be in the chat. That doesn't mean I agree with Hakeem Jeffries. Please don't make that mistake. But as far as just who's the winners and losers, it doesn't matter with who I agree with or who I don't. Hakeem Jeffries, an unintended consequence that I didn't foresee is that when you go through 15 votes and you have to nominate, I don't know if you have to or not, but every single time somebody got up to speak to nominate Hakeem Jeffries, they had to do that 15 times. And they clapped 15 times saying something good about him or rallying that side together. It has an impact. And a lot of people, I am in stark disagreement with a lot of people online on the Hakeem Jeffries speech. The alphabet speech. I am in stark disagreement on it. Again, do not mistake my take here for me agreeing with the content of the speech. That is not my take. My take is, how effective is it for him politically? If you're playing chess, you can't look at somebody who made a good move and ignore it just because they made the good move. Obviously, you don't agree with it because you don't want to lose. Here's the speech. It's just a clip of it. You might probably heard it. I call it the alphabet speech.
House Democrats will always put American values over autocracy, benevolence over bigotry, the Constitution over the cult, democracy over demagogues, economic opportunity over extremism, freedom over fascism, governing over gaslighting, hopefulness over hatred, inclusion over isolation, justice over judicial overreach, knowledge over kangaroo courts, liberty over limitation, maturity over Mar-a-Lago, normalcy
that one was funny.
over negativity, opportunity over obstruction.
I don't agree with it, but that one was funny. That was pretty funny.
Over Mar-a-Lago, normalcy over limitation, maturity over Mar-a-Lago, normalcy over negativity, opportunity over obstruction, people over politics, quality of life issues over QAnon, reason over racism, substance over slander, triumph over tyranny, understanding over ugliness, voting rights over voter suppression, working families over the well-connected, xenial over xenophobia, Yes, we can over you can't do it, and zealous representation over zero-sum confrontation.
You can say what you want about it, but do you remember McCarthy's speech? Be honest. Do you remember one word that Kevin McCarthy said that night? I don't remember one word that bruh said. He just up there spouting the same old cliche stuff that everybody talk about. So whatever you think of that speech got millions of views. So ALX, who's great, he can say, what even is this? What it is you're seeing a star being born. That's what it is. The Democrats had no one to rally around. Who rallies a Democrat like that right now? Who? Kamala? Try again. Brandon? Try again. Mayor Pete Buttigieg? Nope, no can do. Name it. Name the person. Michelle Obama? Closer. Nope, she doesn't do it. Gavin Newsom, he rallies the base like that, in that way where they kind of get hype up like, oh man, this guy. No, he doesn't. So you can say whatever you want to say, but there's no other person that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's someone who could rise on up, just like Byron Donalds. I knew of him, but he came up more. There's always someone that can rise from anywhere. But right now, Hakeem Jeffries is the #1 2024 presidential candidate. Just that quickly. Who would you rather have running? Brandon or Hakeem Jeffries? It's a no-brainer. He's instantly the #1 candidate. Whether he runs or not, I don't know. Nancy P has a lot of weight behind that. And I think Nancy P has the power to get Brandon out of there. Who else is there? There's no one that can deliver something like that. I would say Michelle Obama is probably the closest, and I don't know if she wants to do it or not. And don't say he. I'm not getting into that topic right now. So outside of the laughing at the end where they were booing at him, it was good. It was well delivered. It was a very memorable speech. It will resonate with those people. It's projection, I know, but that's not what I'm arguing here. And it's viral. I think he did instantly become the front runner. What he does is infuse poetry with his delivery. It's very, some people might say it's Obama-like. I guess in a way it is. If you don't know hip-hop, let me go to my next comment here. If you don't know hip-hop, in a song called Juicy, Biggie said, I think he was the first one to say it, if you don't know, now you know, nickel. And in impeachment, as dirty and as evil as the impeachment hearings were, destructive for our country and overreach of government power and disgusting it was, he dropped in the little hip-hop bar in there.
That is why we are here, Mr. Secretary. And if you don't know, now you know.
That's hip-hop. Why did I bring that up? Because that's what he's doing. It's poetry. Going through the alphabet on his comparisons, it's very memorable, it's catchy. You'll remember that for years from now. And he's using hip-hop. That's what he did. It's from Brooklyn, I believe. At least Byron Donalds was talking about how they're both from Brooklyn, I believe. Brooklyn is like close to the Mecca, might be considered the Mecca of hip-hop. And he uses that poetry. It's unique, it's memorable, it's an excellent strategy to make morally corrupt philosophies seem like authentic solutions and rallying points. He's infusing hip-hop creativity, hip-hop culture, graffiti, all that, just the creativity, artistic creativity with politics. And if he continues to do that, there won't be anybody that has the rallying, the ability to rally that he does. Somebody said, I disagree. You only get so much mileage out of the GOP are bad people. They got enough mileage to get where they are now. Well, how did the midterms turn out for you? Didn't turn out very well. I'm sure they can start up another Ponzi scheme if they need to, or ignore another Ponzi scheme as long as they get broken off. There was no red wave. If you had a red wave, maybe I would listen to you, Steve, for saying that GOP are bad people or so much mileage. If you can deliver it in a creative way, Gavin Newsom can't get too much mileage out of it, but Hakeem Jeffries might be able to. And then he checks the box too. At least one of the boxes is being, I guess you could call a black male. This is the first comment I just happened to see. Mad Cow Mark says Obama was the second worst president behind Joe. Haven't thought about that one. I would have to go back to, I always say modern times like JFK or later, because I always go back to people like Woodrow Wilson as one of the worst. Mad Cow Mark says Hillary C. will run if she takes a break from being a professor. And I guess that her class, How to Merc a Nickel, I think that would be on hold and she'd run for president. I don't think she's going to run, though. She just doesn't have the charisma to do it. Jessica Mai, thanks for stopping by. Google how him and the progressives have beef. Don't let him fool you. Oh, yeah. I'm not supporting Hakeem Jeffries. Please don't get me wrong. But he is the star, though. AOC has never delivered a speech like that. I think AOC wants to run for president, but what's the AOC moment? What's her moment? I guess you could say Mayor Pete doesn't have one, or Kamala, but AOC doesn't have one either. That was Hakeem. Remember Obama's speech in, was it 04? The convention speech. That was his moment. That everyone still talks about it to this day. It was a great speech. He had the 08 was a better, what was it? A Better Nation, right? Or whatever it's called. And I've done a breakdown. That was a great speech. Okay. Oh, in the Bronx. Okay. Okay. We're not going to do that. Are we going to do Mr. X? I don't care about New York that deep. Somewhere around there. I don't know all the boroughs. Mr. X says hip hop started in the Bronx, but let's not split hairs. Are we going to have to do that? Mr. X must be a hip hop fan. He wanted to start some beef. You thought that was funny, huh? So I don't care. But for New York, if there are New Yorkers in the chat, they might. That was, if you don't know, that was kind of like a big hip hop thing back in the day. KRS-One came out with The Bridge Is Over. It was kind of the New York battle. Man, that's good stuff, man. That beat, woo! The bridge is over. The bridge is over. Oh, man. But hip-hop started out in New York. I will always respect New York for that. It's a classic song. This is before the 90s, y'all, we talking about. This KRS-One and DJ Scott LaRock, Criminal Minded. That album was cold. Sampled The Bridge by MC Shan. What was that about? Was that I don't even remember. Was that that wasn't even that was it? It was a Bronx verse. It wasn't Brooklyn. If it was Bronx versus Queens or whatever. Queens, yeah, it was like Queens. I remember the lyrics. I didn't even know what it was growing up when I just thought the beat was dope. I wonder if they have a remake on there so I can play that. Bridge Is Over, remake, instrumental. See if they have a one that won't get copywritten. Because now I'm in the mood for it. Nah, I don't see it. Nah, that beat's too classic. Yep. Let me see if I just find the instrumental in general. I mean, I can always clip it out of the song. Are they still copywriting that? It's such a powerful song. I'm sure they are. Yeah, they're copywriting it. As they should be. Should get your money. I saw KRS-One live in... They were singing like Step Into a World, Step Into This World. So it was probably 98 to 99. After that, KRS-One, Step Into This World, or Step Into a World, Rapture's Delight. I'm looking it up now. Good album from 97. Saw him live. I forget the venue. It's probably Michigan somewhere, in Michigan. Jessica Mai says, we don't have a leader anymore. The populist left needs a leader. And I don't know all the people out there. The only person that I know is, I actually like Katie Porter, believe it or not, but she's not a leader. She's a follower. She believes on all the woke stuff. And I'm not with the woke stuff. So I think Jimmy Dore is kinda, but he puts substance over race. That's really, because even Kathy Barnett looks at skin color. Byron Donalds looks at skin color, but they don't put skin color over the content of what somebody's saying. So I have no problem with them. So I don't have a problem with Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore is the only one that I know that's a leader on the populist left. He recently had libertarians on his, that's a kind of a hot topic from a video I uploaded today, libertarians, but Jimmy Dore had libertarians on his podcast before many times. He has people he disagrees with. He goes on with Tucker. Jimmy Dore is the populist left leader to me. Who do you think, Jessica? I said, yeah, AOC could have done it, but she sold out hard, just like MTG. Bernie's not, he's just too old. Bernie is too old, and he's not relevant anymore to me. Like, you don't go to, well, what does Bernie think about this? Nobody does that. I can say what I want about Pappy Don, but if something goes down, people want to know what Pappy Don thinks. I actually wanted to hear what DeSantis thought. He had is her name Cat Williams? No, not Cat Williams. Cat Simmons, the larger lady, was involved in this thing. Byron Donalds, Matt Gaetz, Anna Paulina Lean. What's her name? Anna. I always garble up her name. Anna Paulina Luna, Florida too. And to my knowledge, Ms. DeSantis didn't say anything about the speaker debate. That's not a good sign to me. That's a Florida issue. I would have definitely said something. How many people voted for Bernie in the chat? I didn't vote for Bernie, but I loved the 2016 primary. I had no beef with Bernie. Even though I didn't fully agree with him on everything, that movement was magical. And Jimmy came out of it, and Tulsi came out of it, and Nico House, and most of the people I respect from the populist left. I think even Pasta and Fiorella Isabel, hopefully her and I had a little back and forth on China. Hopefully she doesn't take that the wrong way, because I have the utmost respect for her from the Convo couch. But I think a lot of them came out of the Bernie camp. Bernie's legacy is, I always thought I wanted to do a video on not the coaching tree, the political tree of Bernie Sanders. Like, if you follow football, they'll look at, hey, here's your coach, whether it's Bill Belichick, it's a classic one. All the coaches that coached under him that had different jobs. You look at Bernie Sanders, that's his true legacy for me. What he did with spouting off Nina Turners and people everywhere. Everybody in the populist left came out of that camp. Damn near. Yeah, I see you. A lot of people switched from Bernie when he lost in the primaries, only because the super delegates, the Democratic primaries, is just, it's skewed towards corporate candidates. They foresaw what happened with Trump and the Republicans, and they built safeguards against that. If the Republicans had super delegates, Trump would not have been a nominee. So that if you want to infiltrate DC, you got to do it through the Republicans, even if you're a populist left. You're not going to do it. Like, let's say Jimmy Dore ran for president. He would have zero chance doing it from the Democrats. If you know who those super delegates are, they can just say, hey, basically the big donors or whatever can influence people, the delegates, to vote for the corporate candidate, just in case somebody rises on up. If it weren't for super delegates, and I don't know if I'm allowed to question some of the stuff that really actually came out on the process with Bernie would have been the nominee. And I would have loved, that would have been a hell of a battle. Bernie versus Trump. We got robbed of that. That would have been a hell of a populist battle back then. Bernie had the energy, man. That Bernie's campaign was, I still talk about it, man, almost like it's Trump's. The energy was, I remember, I was more on Facebook at the time. I was not on Twitter at all. Man, when Bernie spoke, it was just like when Trump spoke. And it didn't matter if I agreed with Bernie or not. I mean, it didn't matter at all. It was just all about the energy, yo. I mean, the energy was unbelievable, man. It was authentic, too. Whether Bernie was or not, the energy was. Man. These were good times politically. You had Trump and Bernie rising up.
Thank you, San Antonio.
This isn't 2016, I don't think. Let me find a 2016
And
one.
let me introduce to you the next First Lady of the United States, Jane Sanders. You will be very proud of her as First Lady.
Let's go. So I would say Ron Paul had the authentic magic. Andrew Yang had it. I was a Yang gang. Bernie had it. Trump had it. Ross Perot had it. I don't know if I'm missing anybody. Probably Andrew Jackson back in the day, but I don't know the vibe.
Thank you, New Hampshire. Shortly after the polls closed, Secretary Clinton called and was very gracious in her congratulations. I thank her for her call, and I congratulate her and her supporters for the vigorous campaign they ran in New Hampshire. And let me take this opportunity to thank the many, many thousands of volunteers here in the Granite State who work so tirelessly.
So I just wanted to get a feel of the Bernie crowd there. But yep, Bernie doesn't want to be president. Mad Cow Mark says Bernie just wanted the money they gave him to drop out. He wasn't cheated. Yeah, I'll have to revisit that. Maybe I'm wrong. But I do know the superdelegates are something that they have and there's nothing illegal about it because they're private, entities, but they rule politics, these two parties. The Democrat Party has these superdelegates and the Republican does not. So if you have a true populist left candidate, I don't see any path through the Democrat Party. These parties are just vehicles. And the populist left, and my friends, love my friends on the populist left, but they're not really logical thinkers. They would never try to infiltrate or join MAGA, in fact. The number one route for the populist left to get through to DC is actually through MAGA. It is. The populist left, there's a lot of people who gatekeep on the populist left, which I hate. They're just more about who's a real populist left than anything substantial. They call Jimmy Dore a sellout. They call him a MAGA. They call Kim Iverson MAGA. They call Tulsi Gabbard MAGA. So if Jimmy Dore wanted to run, he would have to me, I would run under MAGA. Third party has no chance. Just forget about it. Even Trump doesn't have a chance third party. He can be a spoiler, but he would have no chance. So I think Jimmy would run through MAGA, believe it or not. That's why I say when I have major MAGA, get the gear on middlemaga.com in the store. But I have the major MAGA, sweater. And MAGA to me just means populist. It doesn't even mean populist right. So really Jimmy Dore should be included in that. But obviously he doesn't view himself that way, but make the argument for getting power in DC through any other avenue. You're not going to make it through the corporate Republican side. A lot of the stuff that Matt Gaetz talked about with controlling power of the speaker is exactly what Jimmy was talking about with forced to vote. You would not be able to tell. That whole speech that Matt Gaetz had on Fox News, that whole speech could have been populist left 2 years ago. You wouldn't have been able to tell the difference if they had done the same thing. So that's the route, believe it or not. I don't know what the populist left is just, and the rights too, like they would never go through a left kind of organization. So it's not just the left, but and the libertarians, the way for libertarians to get power in D.C. is through MAGA. Every disaffected MAGA is the only group. The only way to get power through D.C. is now through MAGA. There's no other way. Oh no, Jessica, are you serious? Well, that doesn't mean anything yet. Even though his wife saying it does kind of probably mean something. Jimmy's not going to run. It's easy for me to tell him to throw his hat into, leaving his income and raising money, and for what end? Easy for me to want him to run. That's selfish on my part. But yeah, I want him to do the best for him and his family. I'm sad to see that, but obviously I want the best for him and his family first and foremost. Gray zone. You're talking about like Blumenthal? I think gray zone, door, and those type would be open. Oh, to going through MAGA? You think so? I don't even think they would be. I don't think Jimmy, he has his People's Party. Is that Matt Blumenthal? Oh, Max Blumenthal, who's a great reporter. Wow. If they would be, that'd be great. I don't believe they would be. They would never label it. You would have to label yourself as MAGA. I would never see that. I don't think they would do that. Jimmy said he would never run. Damn. I'm still going to have him. I have a fantasy list. I'm still going to have him on the fantasy list. I'll share it real quick since we're on the topic. I'm not taking him off the list. The list isn't realistic. And things can change. I am disappointed to hear that Jimmy won't run, though. I can't lie. But here's my top 10 updated for president. Then I'll get into maybe a couple other things, and I'll be out soon. I will be out. I'm surprised I can't find it. Why am I surprised I can't find something on Twitter? Okay, here we go. This is the most recent update. And I'll be out shortly. For president. Let me know if I'm missing anybody. Starting with number 10, we have Josh Hawley, senator out of Missouri. I like him a lot. Number 9, Tucker Carlson did drop on my top 10, but whatever. Tucker Carlson is great. I have Ron DeSantis number 8, and Trump is not on this list. So do with that what you may. Tulsi Gabbard is number 7 on the list. A lot of people have questions about her one world government affiliations. I don't know what that means. Her actions don't show that, so I still rock and roll with her. Jimmy Dore, number 6. Jimmy. Number 5, this is new on my list. Rising up is Rep. Thomas Massie. He did vote for McCarthy. He was not one of the rebels, but he has different interests, and I consider him a libertarian type. He has a bill that has like one sentence, and the sentence in the bill, I looked at it, it's literally one sentence, something to the effect of dismantle the Department of Education. A one-sentence bill. I think he will be heading the church commission. If I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw that on Tucker. Yeah, let's digress to that real quick. I have not watched this. I just saw the headline.
So we spent all week telling you about the fight on Capitol Hill over who's going to be the next Speaker of the House. Of course, at the beginning, the presumption was Kevin McCarthy was going to get the job, and then a group of his colleagues stood up and said, not so fast, and for a couple of days, they successfully held him off. Well, during that period, Kevin McCarthy decided to make some changes in the way he's going to administer the House and its priorities. And one of them is something that we've been talking about and certainly thinking about for quite some time, which is the creation of a committee modeled after the famous Frank Church Committee of the 1970s that will look a lot more closely at the influence of the FBI and the various intel agencies on domestic politics. They're not allowed to interfere in domestic politics. They clearly have been. and maybe Congress could get to the bottom of that. In fact, they're the only ones who can. Well, Kevin McCarthy's going to do that. Looks like he's going to be Speaker, and his plan, we have just learned, is to appoint really one of the most honest and dogged members of Congress, we'll just say it, Thomas Massie of Kentucky, to head that committee, the new church committee run by Congressman Thomas Massie, who, by the way, joins us now to announce it. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Tucker. It looks like I'll probably be on that committee, but I can't say that I will run it. I will say that, while we've seen this drama unplay on the House floor, behind the scenes, along with
Now, that would be disappointing if he's not running it.
those people who withheld their vote for Kevin McCarthy until they got the transformational changes in the House and the way the House works, we were working with to make sure that this church committee, a suggestion that you've had, and thank you for suggesting that I should be on it. I don't know if you're clairvoyant or just made the future happen, but it's happening. We were making sure that this committee wasn't going to be fenced in, that it wasn't just going to be a show committee. We wanted to make sure that we have full jurisdiction, that if we stumble onto something at another three-letter agency, that they don't say, whoa, that's out of your jurisdiction. Or if we find out there's more than a violation of the First Amendment right, if there are other civil rights that are being violated, we've secured a guarantee that we can go wherever the evidence leads us.
So everyone who's attempted this, and few have attempted it, but Frank Church certainly attempted it, and the Congress attempted it again in 1976 with their Special Committee on Assassinations. Those committees bumped right headlong into a wall of secrecy, and it drove a lot of them, those members, kind of crazy. Are you prepared for this honestly awesome task?
I think we are, and we've been laying the groundwork for that. Dan Bishop, my colleague from North Carolina, and Jim Jordan, we've been talking to the Intel Committee, which has the authority to get all of that information. By the way, a lot of this is going to play out down in the SCIF. You're going to have to trust the people that are put on this committee. And I'll tell you what, if there's something fishy going on, I'll come out of the SCIF and tell you. But a lot of it will be behind closed doors. There'll be classified information. But if we find anything illegal or unconstitutional, we will bring it forward.
Excited to see what happens from that. That will be very difficult. I do not expect anything great, but I think you got the right person on there. Number 4, Kathy Barnett. I'm a huge fan. Maybe go back in the channel if you can, search for Kathy Barnett. I think you'll find some stuff. Maybe I'll cut some stuff up. Haven't talked about her, why I like her. Actually, let me do this. I do have a clip on, I clipped an episode of Timcast. Let me see if I can clip that just to, maybe there's not some Kathy Barnett fans or they don't know who she is. I don't know if she would have vetting problems or whatever else, but this is a fantasy group. I don't know if she would even want to do it. This is a fantasy idea. And here's a little clip of Kathy Barnett. She was amazing on Timcast.
So how did we end up with Dr. Oz instead of you? Well, Dr. Oz, I mean, he doesn't seem to know anything about this. He doesn't talk about it. It seems very generic. You were running. You seem to be extremely knowledgeable on all of these issues internationally and domestically. And the people of Pennsylvania, that's the choice they get.
I left it all out there on the road. Now the people have chosen, in large part because Sean Hannity is a jackass. Can I say that?
Yes.
Can I say that? Okay, great.
Amen. Hallelujah.
The people were manipulated. The people were manipulated. We were going to win. Sean Hannity is a jackass, but we already know that. I don't think that's a cuss word. I was asking Jesus about that on the way up here.
It's a donkey.
I mean, it's a donkey, right? It's another way of saying donkey, but he is. I know. But nonetheless, we're now in a race. I am not on the ballot. I will be walking in, voting Republican all the way down because God knows Fetterman is a hot mess and I would never vote for him. And I would encourage Pennsylvanians to do the same, to walk in and not vote for Fetterman.
So that was just an interesting clip off the show. I forgot. I think I do have some more substantive clips of her. I just don't know if I'll be able to find them. But I think very high. Her command of the subject matter is very good. You can tell she keeps up with this stuff and cares about it. Number 3 is now Matt Gaetz. Number 2, Carrie Lake. And if you believe in liberty, there is no other option, in my opinion, than comic Dave Smith. Yes, Kathy Barnett was the one, Ryan Smarts, that ran against Dr. Oz. Ran up and obviously Trump endorsed Oz. Ryan Smart says, Osiris, what do you think about DeSantis putting Christopher Rufo on the board of his Hillsdale of the South? It's a boss move. I looked at it. I think I put that on the community tab. I think it's a boss move. It's a great move. I don't know much about the college, how you do that kind of stuff. I didn't know you could do that. I'm not an expert in that thing, but man, that is, if you don't know, let me go to the headline if you don't know what's going on. Thank you for that topic, Ryan. Hold on, I'm behind a paywall, so let me go ahead and bypass that. Let me go ahead and bypass that paywall real quick. 1 moment, please. I'm going to go to 12-Foot Ladder. It's a website that will remove paywalls for you. Does it work for Washington Post? Not working for me. So I guess democracy will die in darkness. I guess democracy will die in darkness because I can't get the paywall thing to work for Washington Post. But there's definitely other articles on there about this. And if you don't know that DeSantis picked 6 well, you can call them conservatives. Is Rufo really a conservative? I don't know if he's a conservative or not, but whatever you want to call him, he's an anti-woke is what I would say. I don't know what his politics are really. Ron DeSantis shakes up new College of Florida board. And that's what Ryan Smarts is talking about here. And if you look down, his appointments to this board of trustees of a new College of Florida last week in effort to transform the liberal arts school into a conservative institution. I'm not familiar with New College of Florida, but hey, anytime you can infiltrate these universities, Hillary C. is a professor at Columbia, you got to infiltrate them. That's how you enact change. It's more important than any legislation. His appointments, you're fostering children. That's why Charlie Kirk's group is so big. If you can help, create a college environment where it's okay to be non-woke, that will go a long way towards getting better candidates to run for office. His appointments included, the only one that I was aware of, who I saw the names, the only name I knew was Christopher Rufo, an activist who helped turn CRT into a conservative rallying cry. Yes, he did create that awareness. Why it matters. It has more than 700 students, 90 full-time faculty, regarded as the most progressive college in the state. I did not know that. It is the Honors College of Florida, known for not giving grades and graduating smart problem solvers and thinkers. So that would be a place I'd want to go to school now if I was going to school. What they're saying, we must ensure that our institutions of higher learning are focused on academic excellence and the pursuit of truth, not the imposition of trendy ideology. It's very, very smart because Christopher Rufo will not have any of that. College developed the 1776 curriculum to combat the 1619, which is a toxic project, which is an attempt to rewrite American history through the lens of slavery, which is racist, it's inaccurate, and it shouldn't be happening. So that's all I know about it. Sounds great to me. Notice, Ryan, I had DeSantis on my top 10 list, and Grandpappy was not. So there you go with that. Let me know what you think. Okay, we got some answers here. Cornell West, Chris Hedges as VP. I'm going to go see if she named anybody else. Okay. Jessica said that she likes Katie Porter, but I think I saw a but. She loves, look at that. Wait, did you call him Steve Bacon? Was that on purpose, Jessica? Was that on purpose? Or was that voice to text? Or was that shade? It's all good if it was shade. It's kind of funny. Oh, she corrected afterwards. Okay. I thought you were trying to throw some shade at Bannon, calling him Steve Bacon. Let's see here. You said something. Okay, I like Katie Porter. The reason why I'm looking at Jessica, she's I would say, right, Jessica, you're populist left. So I want to hear that perspective. I like Katie Porter, but she can't fight power either. Yeah, she doesn't. See, what we saw with MAGA here was MAGA was fighting power within their own party. If Katie Porter had the courage to do that, which is the Democrat side is a whole different animal. They're the same team, but Democrats do not play. That's an organization that, be honest with you, I do have fear even just being on video talking about how evil they are, but here we are. Katie Porter, nobody. There's no Democrat that fights against institutionalized power on the Democrat side. MAGA is labeled Republican, and they're fighting institutionalized establishment Republicans, period. So until you see that on the Democrat side, you have nothing but frauds. Fakes, frauds, and phonies. So I like Katie Porter, but she's a fake, fraud, and a phony. It's not possible to agree with your party on everything. I don't know how they do that on that side. Got to roll, GB. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. I got to roll, too. Got to go work out. So let me see before it gets too late. Then the gym gets crowded. I'm sorry. Let me get to. So she said that Chris Hedges as VP and Cornell West. Now, Cornell West is a little bit too race heavy for me, I think, but I don't follow him that much. So I don't know. Chris Hedges, don't they roll together a lot? What I know of Chris Hedges, it wouldn't be somebody for me, I don't think. But let me revisit that. I'm not an expert on him. Cornell West is, let me look up some quick videos. Cornell West is very race heavy though, isn't he? I mean, everybody on that side is. If you're just tuning in, we're trying to figure out who is the wish list to run for president for the populist left. The only person I'm aware of is Jimmy Dore. So let's look at this. Oh, are they going to copyright this? Let me find something they're probably not going to copyright. Oh, wow. Let's look at this. This is worth it, even if they do copyright it. Cornell West sat down with Candace Owens. I never saw this. I respect Candace Owens a lot. The only reason she's not in my presidential list.
Cops are everywhere tonight. We're at a new.
The only reason that, that's that dude, whatever his name is. I just found out about him because Ye did an interview with him. But the only reason Candace Owens and guess who else, Laura Loomer, both would have been on my top 10 presidential list if they were old enough. They're too young. Here's Cornell West, a conversation with Candace Owens. Just to get a vibe, I'm going to do it at double speed. Jessica Mai, friend of show, said that she would be looking at Cornell West. I know he is cool with Jimmy Dore.
Free speech is prohibited, and in prohibition, you can only hear it at speakeasies. So just be quiet, keep to yourselves. Let's listen to these two. We got Candace Owens on the right and Dr. Cornell West on the left. And we're going to quietly listen to them. The second you hear a siren, we got to get the hell out of here. Shh. With the culture we have today of Me Too and feminism, and I'm at the point now where I think it might be killing romance. Because with all this constant need for uber consent, just how do you court a lady anymore? Like if you were a 20-year-old man.
Well, I had to really use my imagination, brother. That was a long time ago. I can tell you that. No, there's two things. One is
he's funny.
The art of intimacy, which we're losing. So that notion of being vulnerable.
One thing about Cornell West is he is funny.
The notion of surrendering as opposed to just resigning or dominating, that's being lost. You see. My generation, it was always red and try love tenderness.
Right.
These days, it's mostly say my name, say my name, say my name. Very different orientation and disposition, you see. But on the other hand, you've got all of the policing that takes place. And so it's hard for people to really allow themselves to be themselves. And you can't really have a serious relationship if you're just posing, posturing, wearing a mask.
Yeah. Well, you were in D.C. You just met a man, happily married. I met a million Trump girls in D.C. I used to do a show there. And they were all having a lot of trouble finding a dude. And you thought, if this was 50 years ago, you wouldn't have women's political beliefs affecting...
You know what? I'll look more into them. I like the vibe on that answer there. So I thank you, Jessica. That could be the one for sure. Jimmy Dore and Cornell. Jimmy would support him for sure. He was on Hannity. Wow. He will talk with anybody. I saw him on he was on the Minds panel. Tim Pool and Tulsi Gabbard and a bunch of other people were at that Minds. If you don't know, Minds is a social media platform. Minds conference. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see here if I can find the Minds conference. Okay, they were talking about reparations, but that's inherently a race topic. But it was very interesting. I haven't seen this since, this was a year ago or 6 months ago. It was a good conference. Am I already sharing that? Okay, let me share that.
All right, so Coleman, you have a view on reparations. What is your?
Yeah, so my view has been that Black Americans that were born in the segregated South and lived through the Jim Crow system, like my grandfather and grandmother who are here in the crowd tonight.
God bless them, God bless them, God bless them. We should have them stand up, stand up. Where are they, where are they, where are they?
He's a good masters of ceremony. He's a really charismatic figure. He could run for president for sure.
Where are they?
Right there.
Oh, there they are, there they are. Stand up, stand up. Indeed, indeed. That's it, that's it. You're looking at grace, you're looking at dignity.
So my position has been that that set of folks should receive reparations for a system, for living through a system that we all, I mean, most of us look back on with shame. But someone like myself, and the median Black American is I think about 33, is like early 30s. Someone like myself, 26, born in 1996, should not receive reparations for slavery, right? That I'm 6 generations removed from. I've always felt it would be dishonest of me to pretend that I, Coleman Hughes, am harmed by something that happened that long ago. And it would seem to dishonor the actual people that suffered and were never recouped. And there's no precedent I know of in America or any of our peer nations for paying reparations to the 6th great grandson of whether it be the Spanish Inquisition or any genocide victims of the many genocides that have happened throughout the world. At some point the opportunity is missed, and an obsession with the fantasy of being made whole is somewhere behind here, right? Like some people imagine there's some point we're going to get to where we are going to be given something and we're going to feel that the scar is going to be healed, and I'm not sure trauma works that way.
And would that also apply to Native Americans who still today, their descendants still receive money for what was done to them many, many generations ago?
That's such a special case because land ownership is involved and reservations are involved in a way that I wouldn't really feel comfortable commenting on or making a direct analogy.
Fair enough. So now,
could I just say a word about his honesty, which I deeply respect, even as I disagree with the conclusions. But the honesty in terms of you making that distinction between your beloved grandparents and yourself. Because the argument is that reparations is like a tort in law, right? You got to first find out what was the truth of the damage done, and then you find out what the damages are.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. I think you raise a great point. He is somebody that I can respect, even if I disagree with. A lot of people are saying Tulsi's bad on 2A or whatever, but I still can respect where she's coming from, even if we disagree. And I would absolutely put him on that list. For sure. Mr. X said cornball. I will disagree with that. I'm not going to we're going to probably disagree on a lot, but he's somebody I could respect. I don't need to agree with you. I need you to be authentic. So maybe when you're calling him cornball, you don't think he's authentic. Wow. It's not as far as back as people think. Jessica Mize says slavery ended in 1905 in Delaware. My husband's grandmom was born in slavery. They can track their slave owners. It's not as far back as people think. Yeah, it is. When you go look at it, it's not as far back as you might think. I am not for reparations, not a mission for me, because I don't know what the problem is that it solves. It doesn't solve a problem to me. There's not a problem to solve. And we might be slaves now. You might have seen, you wonder why I say we might be slaves now. I'm not going to talk about what happened in 1865 or whenever. We might be that now. Let me show you why. This has been talked about quite a few times. This is a disturbing video. It's not too graphic, but it is disturbing as a warning. There was a newscaster or news reporter named Jessica Robb, and I'm not going to be questioning anything or what, but there's a video I'm going to share here. It's got 5 million views.
The case can be referred to the International Court of Justice.
This video here has 5 million views. So if you're just listening, it's just a reporter doing their classic reporting.
Families are.
So she's doing her classic reporting, and you can tell that she's struggling to speak at this point.
When I looking at after the day, families are pushing the feds to. Sorry, Aaron, I'm not feeling very well right now, and I'm about to.
Okay, we'll come back to you right now, and we'll make sure that, Jessica, you are doing okay. Thank you.
It's very scary to see, and what a trooper, what a professional. As whatever is happening, I haven't looked back to see what's happening. I actually, I wish her the best, but I don't care about the details. That's not the point of me showing her. But before I talk about that, look at that professionalism. She did her job all the way up until the last moment of, medical. To my knowledge, she's still alive. Don't get me wrong, but up until the last moment of that concern, and then another professional here saying, "Hey, she's got people with her. Don't, we'll update you. Don't be scared," type of stuff. Very professional on both ends. But my point of bringing her up is, could you argue that we're in a way, slaves is a hard word, and because we're not in chains physically. But if we see something that's happening and many people are having health concerns, and we have no idea if they could just be dehydrated or worse, we don't know if it has anything to do with the partnership between government, media. We're talking about media like the platform I'm on right now. There's certain things I can't say. What kind of world is that? Is that a trustworthy world? Like, why would you have slaves like you did back in the 19th century when you could let people live their lives and control them how you need to control them? To house a slave, to chain a slave, to whip and all that kind of stuff, that's a lot of money, time, and effort. Let them have the appearance of freedom, not much different than the animal in a zoo. We're more in a digital zoo, but media, government, private companies talked people into taking a therapeutic. And I'm not saying that's what happened with her there. What I'm saying is we don't know. And people are dropping like flies and we don't know. And nobody seems to care to know. The people who push the product don't seem to care to say, whoa, it wasn't our product. Let me go out of my way to show you why it wasn't. That's not happening. In fact, if you go to one of my top articles, you'll see one of the top articles is from the Twitter files. Pfizer board member, let me put that up here. Pfizer board member, let me just say Scott, secretly pressed Twitter to hide posts challenging his company's massively profitable jabs. So excuse me for, and not you, Jessica, because you didn't even say your statement. I didn't see it in comments. Just in general, excuse me, no disrespect, but if you're here pushing for reparations, I've got questions about, are we slaves in some type of manner now? I'm not here for you asking for reparations when we don't have the Jeffrey E. client list. If we don't have the Jeffrey E. client list, that means we are being ruled by somebody. Because if you were on the client list, you would be in shackles right now. So the people who we don't get hold accountable, them or the people behind them are in charge. I don't have the stomach to hear you talk about 1865. Excuse me if I don't. So that's where I am on that topic. I don't know what's happening with people, but all you need to know is nobody cares from the government standpoint, other than the rebels, potentially, who are trying to get that done. Yeah. But I don't blame people. I understand why people are asking for reparations, but life is savage. It just is. When an eagle swoops down and dives in the water and grasps a fish with its talons, the offspring of the fish don't get reparations. That's just nature. Dog eat dog world. It is savage. It's ugly and beautiful, but that's how life works. You could ask for reparations for anything. You could ask for reparations for how the pandemic was handled. Maybe your kids can't speak because they're muzzled all the time. You could ask for reparations for J6. Unconstitutional. Everything was. Why can't you ask for reparations for that? If you asked for reparations every time the government did something illegal or terrifying, then we wouldn't have a government. Maybe we can just skip to that part. That's my thought on that. Ryan Smars talks about, what do you think about what's going on in Brazil? I haven't talked about that much because I am not an expert in it. If you don't know, there was an uprising on January 8th that was very similar yesterday. That was very similar to January 6th. I'll go cover that story real quickly. I don't know enough to have a definitive take, but it is worth discussing. Brazil Capitol. It was at the Capitol, right? Yeah. So I'm watching the videos like everybody else. Let me go to NBC News to cover that. Thank you for the topic. I think it's okay to cover some of these topics just from, who's very good on this is the Convo Couch. So if you're watching right now, I'm showing videos from NBC on this. Can I not rewind? Okay, well, whatever. But you're going to see video from NBC.com on this, and you're seeing people rioting at the capital of Brazil. So you're having this is a populist right, to my knowledge, because President Lula is a populist leftist or socialist type, and Jair Bolsonaro was more of a populist right. And Steve Bannon has always sided with Bolsonaro. I don't sign off on that dude because I don't know, not against Bannon. I just don't know him, so I'm not going to sign off on him. I don't know Lula. I'm confused by this, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, I was not showing my screen again. I'm confused by this. Very confused. Because people tell me that the government installed Bolsonaro back when, I forgot what year it was, when he became president. Now, to me, it looks like the government, I'm talking about the U.S. government, is supporting Lula. So it could have switched. I could be consistent, but I'm just honestly confused. But the people are, hey, I can say this definitively. When you have a process of choosing people to represent you and people don't know if they can trust that process, that concern has to be met or it will be dealt with one way or the other. I'm not condoning whatever, anything else. I'm just saying that is a consequence. That's what happened here. It will happen again here in a different way. I don't know how. If people don't trust the process, even if the process is flawed, if they trust the process, you'll have a civil society, civil in ignorance. If the process is the most secure ever and people don't trust it, then it's a worthless process. So I don't know what's happening there. I do know they have machines. I'm not going to get into that because I'm not an expert on their machines and stuff. There's a report that I want to read that Steve Bannon talks about. I haven't read it, from the Brazil military, but they're biased too. Chaos struck Brazil's capital Sunday when supporters of far right, I guess he's far right. He's definitely right of Lula. And just these words, I don't know if I trust this outlet, but I think most people would agree with that. Descended on government buildings, breached them, climbed up on a rooftop, and broke windows. Sound like anything? You got J6, you got J8. Video depicted damage to an office in the presidential palace, as well as broken windows in the country's highest court. I am interested to know, because here, J6, we discuss it in a way that it feels like it could have been entrapment. We don't have the full details. I don't know, that's a legal term. I'm not a lawyer, but it feels like there were people that knew what was going on, that were involved in the middle of it while it was going on, is what I mean. And what role did they play? Why did they not stop it? Nancy P., just like with her own home, it looks like she doesn't have it secure. She didn't have it secure. I don't know how that played a role here. He called those who attacked Congress fascists. I guess everybody's a fascist now. How does that even make any sense? I believe that. They'll be just like the Phoebe did here. Authorities used tear gas, clashed with demonstrators. They rise up more than they do here, so it ain't over there. Over here, it's over. Over there, it's not over. So I don't know. Let me know what you think if you have any thoughts on that. I'm going to go to the convo counts to show you this. If you want to know about Brazil, these are the people I go to. Now, they are more left, but I think they are good people and fair balanced, in my opinion. So I'll go and take a look at it. Let me go ahead and get the convo couch up here. I haven't listened to them in a minute. I just haven't had a chance. And then I'll go to the comment section. All right. All right, let's take a look here. I'm going to get the convo couch, and I got to really be out. And, she said, are they Dominion? I don't think they're Dominion. I think they're a different company. Let me look at that real quick. Are they? I don't think they are. I'll have to look that up. That's a good question. But any machines are a concern. Let's see if they're talking. I'm sure they are on the convo couch talking Brazil. So this is the convo couch. If you're just listening, I'm showing their YouTube page. An amazing channel. Shout out. See what they got going on here. Surprised they don't have Brazil on the... they haven't posted in a minute? I think they're more on another app now. Wow. Because Fiorella's in Russia now. So they do these call-ins like that. But they have an old one on Brazil that's still pertinent. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't... They travel. They're real reporters. So, I mean, they could be in Brazil. I don't know where they are. I haven't chatted with Pasta in a minute. This video is from 2 months ago.
With Lula winning this election. Wait, a guy who held the presidency twice, who had great economic booms, who almost removed them from near poverty, from extreme poverty. No, really? He could
As
win?
you can see there,
to act like...
It sounds like he's pro-Lula, which is fine. I don't know one way or the other. To have my own personal take, I have no take on Lula versus Bolsonaro.
Like some Joe Biden character, Lula. It just shows you your fucking ignorance of what's going on in Brazil. No shit. A wet paper bag could have got 40% of the vote against Bolsonaro simply because Brazil is in economic chaos, social disorder, It's going crazy. Fiorella got her phone stolen. Danny Shaw got his phone stolen. Two other people we know we got his phone stolen. We went to 5 countries in Latin America over the last year, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you
You have to have, they are literally in the streets of all these. Go to this, trust me, you will not be disappointed to sign up for the Convo Couch.
the one, and I don't want to downplay anybody's homelessness, but going to a bar or club one night, going through their homelessness, it's one of the worst homelessness situations I have ever seen. And I've been in Frisco, LA, everywhere in the States. It is awful. It shouldn't be of any surprise whatsoever. Even if your theory is that he was doing good before the fucking COVID came along and that taked everything, it doesn't make a difference. They are in some serious problems. And Bolsonaro really hasn't done anything economically. And not to mention all the labor groups are against him. All the people in the favelas are against him because they want some form of decency back and some social programs that's going to get them food. So you're being ignorant, you're being naive, and you're being misled. Shame on you, Mr. Steve Bannon, with this coverage. Shame on you, InfoWars. And shame on you, Tucker, with that special the other day.
So that might turn this channel off with him going at Banner and them. But if I have to pick who to trust more on this, I'm picking Pasta. He's literally there. And he's not anti-MAGA at all. He had I think he had Laura Loomer on the show, not on this channel, but on his what's the name of the Rockfin? On Rockfin. They are not anti-MAGA. They're part of the based left. He is not anti-Steve Bannon or Tucker. He would go on Tucker's show.
You want to fucking be an election integrity activist. If you believe in national sovereignty, if you believe for it at home, then you better believe it abroad. And this is, excuse me, fam, it's bullshit. Because the whole thing about him getting cheated and it being rigged is so general. Oh, it's DRE machines now. You can program them anyway. Has Bolsonaro been any specific about going and looking at the software? Has he complained about the system up until now? Not that he just won his presidency election against, but he won his elections in Congress with the system before and so many times. Okay, so the way you guys are presenting this, you're falling into the trap, right? Now the left media, I'm telling you right now, you better start talking about the issues with Lula that are there. Whether we like it or not, he's tied to the Western banks. He is tied to the World Economic Forum. He has had situations.
And look at that. Then he's talking against Lula too. That gives him credibility. It's not like he's some Lula lover. He's telling the truth about it.
Situations when he had to send troops to Haiti because of his ties and the deals that he made with these groups of people from the West. Now, I'm not saying maybe he could have done it without it because we don't know. How does somebody get the power without dealing with these global entities? I think that's a fair question, right? But you have to mention it. And to gloss over.
That's fair too. What he's saying is anybody who gets power is going to have to work through these global entities. So I would like to, that's a wish list to get Pasta on this show. And that it very well could happen. I just got to reach out and schedule it. Let me know what you think. Let's see what's in the chat. I believe we should let Brazil sort it out. If there's a coup, so be it. Focus on our own damn problems. Yeah, I think it's okay to, we're just talking about in the wind, but you're absolutely right, the last. We got our own things to worry about. I am not overly focused with them, but it's the parallels are hard to ignore. It's very hard to ignore the parallels. And then when on top of that, let me see, hopefully I saved it or it's in my likes, a perfect tweet on this that just because you see this, if I could find it, doesn't mean it's bad, but it does raise a red flag for me. Shoot, I don't think I have it. I don't know if I liked it or because I'm on Twitter so much, sometimes I just don't retweet stuff because it'd be just too much on the timeline. This is one I wish I had retweeted or at least bookmarked. But basically it was Hillary C and all the establishment basically backing Lula, which does make you wonder, right? Not that I'm going to disagree with them just to disagree with them, but somebody clipped together. It was about 8 different posts of Hillary C and Blinken and all them supporting Lula. So it's going to be tough for me to agree with all those people, but I don't know. So you're right. They're going to have to work it out. And how I feel is irrelevant. What really happened is irrelevant. When you have an uprising, how do you squell the uprising? And then you might have the military take advantage. We don't know what's going to happen. That is unrest. But here's an interesting one. This dude, I think he's in the hospital now. Let's look at this update from Bolsonaro. This dude was just chilling. I saw this video. Let me see. This is a video of Jair Bolsonaro in a Publix. What timeline am I on? This is a video of Jair Bolsonaro just walking around. He's in Florida now, y'all. He's just wandering around in public. This is Jair Bolsonaro. What the? I don't know what I would say if I saw him run into him like, hey, how's the weather? I don't know Brazil that well. I hear Brazil's a beautiful country. My wife's been there. She loves it. He's just wandering around the Publix lost. I hope they don't. Yeah. So let me.
With Lula winning this.
But that's pretty crazy. And then I have another one. He was just walking around his gated neighborhood. But the main story that's breaking is he got hospitalized, I believe. Let me see if I can find that one. I don't know what happened. I just saw. And then people want him extradited too. There's a lot going on with him. So I guess he is relevant. He's here now. But, I mean, Brazil has nothing on us. I mean, there's no real concern there. I said he's admitted to a hospital. I don't see an article. Okay, let's look at Reuters. Bolsonaro hospitalized in the U.S. with abdominal pain. Wow. He just got here. He was admitted to a hospital in Orlando. Probably got something from the Publix. Hopefully he's okay. Let's see. Bolsonaro has been hospitalized multiple times in recent years with gut blockages after being, I saw that video where he got poked while campaigning in 2018. So hopefully he's okay. That's all I really care about with that story. I wanted to see the one where he was wandering around the neighborhood. That one looked equally as surreal. Let me see if I can find Yara. It was a gated community. Maybe I'll search gated. Let me just put walking. Okay, let me see if I find it. That's the first one. I saw this one where he was walking in the neighborhood before the Publix. Wow, I can't even. Yeah, let me just search him, Florida. I can't find it anymore. I bet you I saved it in my locals. Well, here's a different one. It doesn't look as awkward. He's taking pictures with people. He definitely lives up to that, I'm a man of the people. You always see him hugging. And he really lives up to that populist, presentation. And that's very dangerous for him to just be. Looks like some of them are bodyguards, but like that, like they looks like bodyguards or whatever. But I mean, that still looks dangerous. I couldn't find the one. I'm not even sharing my screen. He's taking a picture with families. I like the one where he was just walking in the neighborhood. Okay, here it is. I did find it. So there he is taking pictures. This one was awkward. Not in a bad way, really, but it's kind of funny. He's just
President
walking.
Jair Bolsonaro landed in Orlando, Florida last week in the wake of his defeat by now President Lula Ignacio da Silva. But if you think Bolsonaro is the first Latin American fascist, dictator, or wannabe dictator to run away to Florida to avoid justice at home, well, think again. Here's just a few.
Some leftist talkover. But Ryan Smar says he ate Publix sushi. I eat grocery store sushi. It's not that. I don't eat gas station sushi if they have that. But our grocery store is not a great grocery store, but you see them making the sushi. Sushi's not bad. Sometimes you're in the mood for a little sushi, a little California roll. Yeah, I started following it too. And the crowds around him got me like, okay, the people seem to like him, but Pasta from Convo Couch says it's like divided 50-50. But with the videos that we see, it looks like I don't see the energy from the Lula side. I see the energy from his side. If the Clinton machine is for Lula, then I'm against him. I'm not going to go that far, but I'm more on your side, Metalopoly. Well, I appreciate it. Got to run. I'm going to be looking at some other videos. What was on my mind? I had a bunch of different type of videos to do. More concept type stuff. Not really like headlines type stuff. I like I'm starting, let me show you real quick before I go. I want to do I'm going to go to a good way to kind of do a little bit of advertising too. I'm going to go to middlemaga.com and I'm putting together a dictionary of terms because we all use different terms for different things. Here's my dictionary. I only have 2 things in it yet. I got to keep working on it. First one is woke. My definition of woke now is the act of allowing an authority outside of God to define your morality. So that means a lot of things. That means if you don't believe in God, by my definition, you are woke. Not that I'm dissing you or anything, but by my definition, I'll stand by that. It is a matter of perspective, because if you're worshiping the devil and the devil is your God, then from your perspective, you're not woke, but from mine, you are. So again, the definition of woke is the act of allowing an authority outside of God to define your morality. So woke is not just a leftist term. Mostly it does apply to leftists though. Equity in reality. If you look at the boxes, you have the tall guy, the shorter guy. Equity is really taking a saw to hammer down the taller people to make them equal to the shorter people, and no one can see the baseball game. But the definition of equity for me right now is the act of forcing your morality on others by any means necessary. Leftists believe in perpetual equity, which can only be provided by the government. Their idea of perpetual equity is their utopia, and the government is their God. So those are the type of videos that I have probably in the works. We'll see if that comes through. I did upload a clip from the Libertarian, and I'm going to end with this clip here. If you haven't seen it, this is I've watched this video. The full clip that I clipped, I've watched it many, 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 many times because I want to understand the psyche. So I said that leftists believe basically, wait, what? Hold on. They didn't take the video down, did they? No, it's right there. So let me listen. This is a progressive leftist.
Libertarians preach nonstop austerity,
Yes.
nonstop murder. They are the biggest effing murderers on the planet. And then they talk about war, and that's their air cover for non-intervention. You'll understand that it's air cover for austerity as well, because they consider government spending.
So understand, this is a leftist who believes in big government, powerful, benevolent government.
Intervention as well, and they consider taxation theft. So these sticks go out there.
He's arguing on behalf of taxation.
And literally kill more people, and then they get we're anti-war. But remember why we're going to war. Remember the why. If you get the why,
Yeah.
you understand that it's about resources and austerity. And they're creating the very condition that requires us to go to war. So
And
it's like an
that's where-
oxymoron. Former libertarian, I mean, straight up murder.
So that the reason I play that is he's the perfect example of what I meant. If I can get to middle MAGA, okay, if I can get back here. He believes in perpetual equity, meaning the government taking money via force from citizens and dividing it to who they believe needs the money. The act of forcing your morality. That's what equity is for me. So he wants to, that's Steve, I forgot his last name. He wants to, as a leftist, he wants the government to take money from him and everybody else. He's passionate about it, as you can see. He wants the government to take money from you and I, and for the government to decide the morality on who needs it. Or he wants to decide. He wants somebody to force the morality on you and I. And he wants to live in that atmosphere in perpetuity. And the only outlet that can provide that power to him is the government. And the reason why he hates libertarians is libertarians are for decentralizing the government. The government is his God, and the idea of perpetual equity is his utopia, his heaven. So that's why he's so angry at libertarians. It makes so much sense now. It took me a little bit to break that down, but I think I broke that. Let me know if I'm off. I think I broke that down. I see why he did that. I see it crystal clear, like Neo in the Matrix. Yes, he's a socialist. So if you're a libertarian and you say, I don't want the government, but the part that he doesn't understand is you can still get together with a group of 100 people, 1,000 people. You can have your own state, your own city, and say, hey, you give money, you tax in our own area. The problem is he's an authoritarian. He would not be happy with his own city taxing its people and distributing the wealth within the city. He would see people outside of the city not doing it, and he would want to take an army to force them to do that. And that is a very big thing. That's where we are in this world right now. He went from a Republican to libertarian, but I don't think he never understood. He did in his mind, but he never understood what the concept of liberty is. Libertarian, because it took me a while to break it down before I even got the libertarian sweater and all that. I'm no expert. I'm not well read, but I do look at the big picture. And for me, and I should put that I'm going to put that in the dictionary on Middle MAGA. Libertarian is a philosophy that tries to maximize peace, the opportunity of prosperity, and decentralization. You maximize those three things as much as you can. That's what I mean by libertarianism. So I don't know what other people mean, but that's what I mean. Queno says taxes are good. So we've got we're very on opposite sides on that, but I appreciate you Twitch representing. So here's the thing. You know what? You probably could say I agree with that in a way, because I am for universal basic income, obviously not with the corruption that we have now, but just say we were in a situation where we had a libertarian utopia and we got 1,000 people together that all agree that there should be a floor, a financial floor. I would agree to be one of the 1,000 to chip in money to make sure that everybody has a financial floor. And if you're below that floor, if you're homeless, then we can take you up off the street and put you in jail, because you should have enough money to get housing, whatever else. There's no other welfare. There's no other, you have to balance your budget. You're not going to be rich off of universal basic income. But you could argue that's a tax, but it would be voluntary. It would be voluntary. So if I saw that they weren't using the money right, I could move out. You can't do that. You can't, I mean, you can move to a different country, but pretty much every country has taxes, right? To my knowledge. So the taxes aren't the problem as much as it's forced. You have no say where the money goes. You're too far away from the people with power. There's too much corruption. The problem isn't just the taxes, because what I support basically is a tax. The problem is the corruption, and we're not decentralized enough. Well, let me say, so this is a good question. You guys got me staying. Quisquino, great question, says, how would you maximize peace? When you go outside your house every day, I hope you're trying to maximize peace. So what happens if somebody cuts you off on the road? What happens if somebody steps on your Jordans? What happens if your pancakes are taking too long at the Waffle House? Are you for peace or for not? It's just a mentality. There's multiple ways. Another way to maximize peace is to be very strong so that nobody wants those problems. People on the populist left mistake that for warmongering. No, it's not. I think we should have the strongest military possible. And I'm not for nuclear weapons, but everybody got nukes. I'm going to have a nuke too. I'm going to have 1,000 or 2,000 nukes that I don't use. There's this video that I can't find quickly, but there's this video of a car that it was raining and ran up on a person and sprayed water on the person. There was a person up ahead that had saw what happened and picked up a rock. And they didn't do anything bad with the rock, but when the car came up to where it could have put water on that person, the car slowed down. That person maximized peace with that rock. They said, if I get wet, basically, they didn't even have to say it. They picked up that rock. The driver of the car saw them picking up that rock, and he was like this. And the driver slowly went by him. Not a drop of water got on him. Because if a drop of water had got on him, crack, crack, that's it. So hopefully that explains it. It's a mentality. What we're doing in the sunflower country obviously is not maximizing peace. You don't give money to someone to continue fighting if you want to maximize peace. What happens if I'm a psycho criminal? I'm not sure what that. Taxes must be compulsory to manage that. You're an authoritarian. Congratulations. And a lot of people are, so it's nothing to be worried about. But taxes by definition cannot be voluntary, though. Yeah, I see. That's where we differ. We don't. I mean, it shouldn't be. It is in reality, but it's just by force. So I'm not for it. I'm not for force. So it's not even about the taxes. It's about the force. I don't understand what happens if I'm a psycho criminal. Isn't that just might makes right? I mean, that's part of it. But it's non-aggression. It's defense. Being pro 2A is to be peaceful, believe it or not. So if you're in Kentucky and you try to run up in a spot with a fake gun to try to take people out, someone with a real gun will take out the trash. That maintains the peace. With the chaos you saw in Portland with that group, that Tifa group, that's because they don't have laws that promote safety and peace. Open carry, all that. That threat is peace. That's part of it. It's not everything. I'm off the top of my head. All right, Mr. X, peace out, man. Appreciate you. You got sprayed with water, so you threatened to hit him more. Yeah. You can slow down. Do you want to maintain peace? Yes. Absolutely. That's laws of nature. Just like China, for example, or whatever country wants to threaten us and do this to us, we have nukes. Don't want to use them, but you misstep. Either country misstep. It'll be that bomb drop in time. Strength is peace. If you're weak, you're done. Like you think about, we're just animals in a jungle. If you're not fat, what is your defense mechanism? Some animals are poisonous, or some animals make noises. Skunks spray, scent. That's their defense. You must have a defense to be peaceful. No, that's not escalation. There was peace. The person picked up the rock. He didn't throw it or anything like that. The person drove by, didn't get a drop. One drop of water got on him. Not a one. And the car kept driving by, and the dude dropped the rock. That's peace. So imagine if he didn't pick up that rock, and then the car got him wet. Maybe you hope he doesn't know who you are, or doesn't know the license, or doesn't get the rock and then get to you, but that's not peace. There's infinite ways to avoid confrontation. The driver could slow down on their own. Yeah. Okay. So say that he didn't pick up the rock and I got sprayed with the water. Yeah. I can do that's another way. I could just get wet and be like, I should have ran off the road. Yeah. There's infinite ways to have peace. If you want peace, you'll have peace. I mean, there's so many ways to describe it. I've never really gotten into many beefs because I err on the side of peace. I could have gotten into many beef throughout my whole life. I avoid it. Just a philosophy. Our country obviously doesn't feel that way. We're funding money to have war. That's not peace. War had nothing to do with us. No. There's no escalation with picking up the rock. There was no escalation. Nothing happened, and you went on. Just like the Wild Wild West. People were carrying. They're like, don't even try it today, bruh. And they pat their side and be like, okay, I don't want those problems. We're peaceful. People think the Wild Wild West was chaotic. No, I wasn't chaotic. It was what we have right now. Go outside in New York at the middle of the night. What major city in this country are you going to go outside in the middle of the night and just walk around? Damn near in the daytime. That's chaos. In Wild Wild West, everybody was packing. They were like, nobody wants those problems, day or night. Go back and look at some old videos from black and white videos. Peace, sidewalks clean, no beef really popping off like that on the serious nature. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes, of course. If you don't have the threat of force, so if you go into a jungle and you have no weapons, how long are you going to last? You don't have fire, you don't have a spear, you don't have a piece. Of course you need a threat of force. You don't know karate or whatever. How long would you survive? See, we've been pampered by this setup that we've got. I'm probably the biggest. Look how that's why I gotta go to the gym. I'm soft. Of course, through the threat of force, there is peace. Absolutely. Absolutely, I'm fine with the threat of force. My goodness. Of course. I mean, it's got to be appropriate. And I mean, give me the scenario. But the guy who saw the car coming and picked up the rock and made sure the driver saw him picking up the rock, I'm absolutely okay with that threat of force. You don't know what's in his head. He didn't say anything. I got to find that video, man. That video that's deep. That's a philosophical video. And then I really got to get out of here. But good discussion. Thank you. Twitch is doing it again. Man threatens to hit car with rock. I love that video. It's so short in rain. I mean, Google is the worst. I mean, Google searches engine is just, I mean, it is so bad. I don't have that video. I did it on a video like 15 months ago. Funny man threatens car with brick. Here it is. Is this it? This is it. This isn't it, but it's funnier because they put the laugh on it. This is similar. This isn't the exact one, but it's the same topic. Let's watch this. Let's watch this. Let me turn the laughter down and loop this. What's Quiz Quino? Quiz Quino, you not okay with this? I'm okay with this. He came rolling up, thought that water was gonna splash. Here's that brick. You want this brick? Bitch, you better not. Now now I'm laughing about it, but there's always risk. Don't get me wrong, Quiz Quino. There's a risk somebody could have opened that window and said, I got something more powerful than that brick. You are going to get wet. And I would have said, go ahead and get me wet. That's nature. That's life, bruh. That's not a philosophy from me. That's a philosophy from God. Watch this video until you get it. I appreciate you stopping by the channel. No disrespect, but this is something you're going to have to get. And I'll be teaching my children. Whoop. Do you want these problems or not? Decision time. Slow down. And did any water get on him? Not a drop. Not a one. Hold up. Oh, yeah, slow down. Slow your roll. Be aware, I'm here. If he didn't pick up and they probably set this one up. The other one I saw looked real. But it doesn't matter. That's the same thing. Think twice. If you about peace, you're going to be aware of your surroundings. Don't get me wet. I love this concept. You like pick that brick up like, hold up now. Slow your roll. What was you about to do? Oh, okay. You didn't want this brick through that car window. Okay. Have a nice day. That's peace. That's maximizing peace. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no escalation there. He didn't escalate anything. He picked up a brick. Wait, he's not allowed to pick up a brick? He didn't threaten any. He didn't even say anything. I would be okay if he did. That's not escalation. Please slow down. I'm over here. Slow down. Good. And you know what we had, Quino? We had peace. What we have now is chaos. The Wild Wild West, let's just do it relatively. The Wild Wild West was not as chaotic as what we have right now. I mean, maybe in rural areas you're okay going out at night. I don't know, but they pack out there. Bro, go to the south side of Chicago after dark and tell me that the Wild Wild West was chaotic. You probably won't want to do it. I wouldn't want you to. Don't do that. I don't recommend it. No, this is not. So this is not coercion from like a government entity. This is, please slow down. Now, if you would call, I would say this is all morals. So your morals can be different than mine. But if it was just picking up a brick to make the car change lanes or something like that, to me, that would be out of bounds. That would be coercion. But force is force. I personally wouldn't be for it. But in this case, yeah. Do you not see me? What did you think you were going to do? Be aware. Of course the threat of force is bad when it's taxes. So in this scenario, he can pick up the brick and the person in the car could show him something a little bit more escalated. You can't do that with taxes. That's not a free market. That's not a free way. And just to be clear, I wouldn't do this with the brick because there's a risk. I would just step backwards. That's the way that I would avoid peace, but there's many ways to avoid peace. And it's not up to me to tell him how to avoid peace. The government taking taxes from you is not a voluntary thing. He can choose to pick up the brick or not. He can choose to walk away or not. Person in the car could roll down the window. They could do. So they have the freedom to do what they want within certain bounds. Yeah, we can do it. Sub up to the channel. I got to run. I got to work out. But great discussion, Quisqueno. Appreciate you. We can follow up another time. And I'd love to do a video or phone. You can do it over the phone too. I'm always open to be wrong, and I appreciate you. All right, everybody, take care. I am out for real. Don't pick up any bricks now, y'all. Y'all hear?